Well, hello, everybody. Welcome to Theme Park. And sorry for the delay between I was finishing up my workout, getting kids to bed, and technical difficulties. We made it. We're just a few minutes late here, but we are here on a fine Tuesday evening to talk about some theme parks, have a good time. And I was going to show you guys, as we let everybody come in here. Now, this is going to be a little nostalgia from our childhood. I couldn't find an actual dedicated website to this. But apparently this is a real thing, and there is a Ninja Turtles pizzeria that is open.
What?
Wow.
That is pretty dope. I can actually see this being a big hit at Universal. Oh,
I don't understand why there's more Ninja Turtles.
I think we lost Jared.
Jared?
Where'd he go?
The Ninja Turtles canceled them.
Uh-oh. Yeah, but we'll wait for him to come back. But yeah, I definitely think this would do it amazing, whether it be in the park. Like I think Universal Studios, the studio park, or something like maybe even in City Walk. I mean, this would do bonkers over there. And it's right in brand with kind of that Universal kind of image too. What say you, Simon? What do you think about that?
Well, the thing about Ninja Turtles is that it is extreme.
Okay, we'll try this again.
Welcome back, sir.
Sorry, guys. This happened the other night. I think I got to upgrade my computer. This happened the other night. All of a sudden, it kept freezing up. I think I need to upgrade my computer.
You have that i3 processor, or?
I can't remember. It's not like the brand new one, but I probably could do for an upgrade. I took away some tabs. It's usually when I have tabs open. I may need to try Chrome. I use Brave browser, so I'm wondering if maybe Brave is the culprit with this. But I was going to show you guys was that there is a Ninja Turtles pizzeria opening up in Los Angeles.
I love it. And you know what? I was just telling, I don't know if you heard this, but what I was telling OG is Ninja Turtles is perfect timing as far as its resurgence, because it is extremely Instagrammable. Oh,
yeah, dude. I was the biggest Ninja Turtles fan as a kid. I so angry. My mom apparently threw out all my old Ninja Turtles. I had so many. I went to the Ninja Turtle concerts. My brother and I would put on the concerts in our home. There's videos of me somewhere as a kid doing Ninja Turtles singing in our living room. I do hope there is a resurgence, but not of the Nickelodeon. I don't really like the Nickelodeon stuff they've done or the new movie. I like the old school, legit Ninja Turtles.
I would agree. And actually, I might have to check that out. If it's in LA, maybe I'll check it out. But I mean, I think even something like this at City Walk at Universal, I think would do really, really well. Or even in the park. I mean, I think Ninja Turtles and Universal kind of go good together. I feel like that's a good brand for Universal. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, yeah, I agree. Yeah, I would love to see a resurgence of it, I think. And yeah, and if you go out there, I mean, you need to live stream that. I feel like you're going to have all the millennials out there in Ninja Turtles gear just going out there to watch that. But let's say hi to the chat before we get too far down here. We got One Shot Motorsport. Thank you for being here. We got Jacob Weller, Storybook Sorceress, Xvoot. Yeah, Xvoot. Yeah, that's what it is. And we also have, let's see here. I think that's everybody that I saw that was chatting beforehand. So like I said, sorry we're a little bit late. Had some technical difficulties in getting the kiddos rounded up for bed, and I did my workout a little late, and then I was like, I need to take a shower because I was soaked, and I was like, I'm going to look terrible on camera, so I took a quick shower. So apologies for being a little late here. Also, we do have some breaking news via Slimer, in that, oh no, it's out of the chat. You got to put it back in there. When we went live, it got rid of it, Slimer.
I got you, buddy.
But Slimer has some breaking news, because I don't know if you guys heard this or not, but the rivers of America are refusing to be drained. So as you guys know, Disney is draining the rivers to make way for something new. And, everyone thought it was the rain, and it was like, oh, Mother Nature or whatever else. Well, apparently Slimer figured out it's not the rain. It's Disney fans caught red-handed. They're refilling the rivers of America with their popcorn buckets.
That's fantastic.
Can you believe this?
I mean, I would argue I don't remember the castle being so close, but hey, I think that's a legit picture. I don't think that's AI at all.
No.
And yeah, I mean, that makes sense. I think that's what's happened here.
I actually have a couple of those popcorn buckets.
We don't have many. We have a Mickey sipper, but we don't get a lot. The only ones I really get, they have the Transformer ones at Universal that I'll collect, but I haven't really got many of the other popcorn buckets. But we, I think we figured out what was going on here.
Well, it's
I don't know if we're
amazing.
going to stop them or not.
It's amazing to me how, like, in all seriousness, how crazy real AI is. Like, I questioning stuff. I see, like, is that real? Is that really Tupac talking in that Instagram reel? But did he really say that? You know what I'm saying?
I've been using it a lot for a couple of things I do, and it's like I've been using a lot of the banana nano stuff. It's not perfect, but it's getting good. Like in terms of what it can do. Like it did a couple of things where I was like, that looks legitimately real, and it's kind of scary, to be quite honest. But yeah, so someone had Jake Rothschild said, any news about annual passes at Epic? Not that I know of. I don't personally, I don't think you see annual passes at Epic till well into 2026. And the question you have there as well, we're going to talk about Epic as our first story, which we can kind of get into that. But George, the Italiano, is going to try to be here. He is flying in, coming home. So if he's able to beat the LA traffic, he's going to make an appearance. And maybe some, if you guys caught George's live stream last week, we might have some bidet talk. You never know what's going to happen. We had a good live over here. Jamie popped on, my wife popped on over here, had a good time, went over to George's live stream talking about Destination D23 stuff. And yeah, it got a little silly. It was about 2 a.m. my time is where that stream went to. And I was like, I have got to go to bed. I think I got to bed at like 2:30. And
it was like a 4-hour stream. And I think 2.5 of those hours was about bidets.
Oh, yeah, it was.
Sure.
Well, I popped in. They were going for like 2.5 hours maybe. And then I think technically Webba is the one that brought up something about building the Avengers thing from back to front. Then George made a snarky comment about front to back. And then I brought up bidets, and then it just went. And the chat took it there. So it kind of had a mind of its own there a little bit.
Well, it's not it's not our fault that the internet hasn't created a sufficient enough platform for men to discuss all of the health benefits of the bidet life. So we took it upon ourselves to create a platform for men and women, whether it's, biological or social. Feel free to associate with us men that love the health and comfort of bidets. So come on in. We might have another 2-hour chat about it. Anytime. It's imminent.
It has legitimately changed my life in the fact that I have never you once you use it, you'll be like, wow, I've never been clean before. It's that life changing.
I recommend I just use the bidet right now.
Yeah. Slimer is literally using it as we
That's why he's smiling so much. He's like, I'm so clean right now. I feel great.
That's it.
If only we'll just bring a conductor in here to really ruin his night and just see what he has to say about it. All right. Well, let's get into our first topic here. So let's talk about Mark Woodbury had some interesting things to say about Epic Universe as he did a conference. It was like a Bank of America investor conference or something along those lines. Basically, there was no audio of this. There was a transcript that was out there, but basically the investors sat down and asked him a bunch of questions, and then he was just answering what they were asking. So there's an actual transcript of this, but it's super long. So we're not going to go through the whole transcript, but he did have some very interesting things to say. So the first one that we can talk about, they were asking him about Epic Universe's performance so far. And by the way, we're going to read this. I'm going to kick it to you guys. Go kiss my kids good night real quick. And I'll be right back in like 5 minutes. But I'm going to kick you guys off with this. So they asked him basically, what do you think about Epic Universe's opening so far? He said, it's doing exactly what we wanted it to do in terms of driving incremental attendance to the resort as a whole. And the performance line for caps, basically meaning like performance of capital coming in. Very strong since we opened the doors. And you can see it in merchandise. You can see it in food offerings. A lot of great creative work went into both of those. Not without challenges when you open an entire theme park at once. It's always a little complicated to get it to ramp up to full speed, and we're in the process of doing that now. Nothing we didn't expect. He also did mention in another comment that their main focus as a company was getting Epic up to full throttle, is what he said. So they're openly talking about some of the issues with the park, as you would expect a new theme park. And he also said within the first 3 months, they're already seeing a market share shift. Consider they asked him about Disney. I don't think that he would be lying about that. I have a good, strong possibility he knows Disney's numbers and Universal's numbers, if I were to guess. But I'm going to kick it to you guys. What do you guys think about Mark? What do you think about what Mark Woodbury had to say on the matter? And I will be right back.
Sounds good. Yeah, that's interesting, huh, Slimer? I mean, it's very interesting to kind of see this whole thing kind of shake out. He did mention too, in one of his comments, he did mention that something to the effect of Epic Universe's ticketing is at a premium compared to that of the other two Universal parks, which I found kind of interesting. Go ahead.
I think it's at a premium relative to the amount of entertainment offerings that are available at Epic Universe versus Islands of Adventure Universal Studios, because ticket prices right now are relatively similar, give or take. You know, I mean, of course, these things have a bottom end price and then they have a demand price, because all of them are using a demand based pricing mechanism. But this park does have it is not a fully fleshed out park when it comes to things such as like nighttime entertainment. It doesn't have any it doesn't have the level of street performances that Universal Studios proper has. So it's really not a fully fleshed out park. However, with that being said, I think you still get a pretty good value when you go to Epic Universe.
Yeah.
It's got all the latest and greatest when it comes to theming technology and theming ride experiences. But what was really interesting in this article for me particularly, and I think this is the most interesting comment that Mark Woodbury made in this presentation to Bank of America, or this speech to Bank of America, was the fact that they're already seeing that it's taken market share away from Disney, or at least taken some of Disney's market share. Now, again, I don't know how they came to that conclusion. I don't have crystal ball. I'm not an insider, despite the fact that I have a substantial amount of special access with Bob Iger. But Bob Iger and Mark Woodbury are probably keeping this kind of information away from OG and I. But depending on what they want us to do, we might be willing, we might not. It could get pretty risque. But Jared, did you hear how exactly they're getting the inside scoop on how they're acquiring the market share numbers? Because I don't want to take them at face value. I'd like to understand what information do they have. I mean, of course, they look at they know what their exact attendance is, but how do they know what Disney's attendance is, and how are they correlating the reduction in Disney attendance over the summer with a growth in theirs?
Well, and also real quick, Jared, I just want to also clarify too, when he says market share, does he mean it directly in relation to companies like Disney, or does he even mean within their own company? Because if it's pulling away from, say, IOA, that's also a shift kind of in the whole market share pie. No, I don't know.
Yeah, they said they haven't seen any cannibalization of their existing parks. He also said the new hotels coming on board hadn't eaten into any of the cannibalization of the existing hotels either. So he made a lot of points saying basically they haven't seen any of it. Like Epic opening hasn't affected. Basically, they're getting more people coming in. They're not getting their own audience just to shift over to Epic, essentially, is what he was saying.
That's huge. That's huge. And that actually surprises me, because I really thought it would. And the fact that it hasn't is actually pretty impressive.
Well, I think that's because they had that 3-ticket deal. Remember, for I don't know how long it was, but I think it was like the first 90 days. You couldn't go to Epic Universe unless you bought that 3-ticket pass, correct?
Yeah, their ticketing. Right. I think the way they did the tickets, which was kind of controversial, definitely helped with that.
Yeah.
But they made a lot of points on that. He didn't say directly with Disney, but the questions were revolving. Like what the investor asked was like, how is it doing in performance against Disney? So it was all, he didn't specifically say it was against Disney, but it was all the conversation around that. Because he also said Disney's investing a lot too. He also said the rising tide situation, with Disney investing will also help them as well, which I think that is true also. He didn't say how he knew the numbers, but I mean, he's the CEO of the Universal Parks, so he knows Universal's numbers for sure. I'm going to guess he also knows Disney's, but neither of those parks release those numbers publicly. So I guess you would be taking him at just his word, but I just don't see him going to this type of a conference and lying, I guess. So I suppose on some level it just comes down to, do you believe him? I personally do. But he didn't say what percentage or anything of that nature. He just said they were already seeing a shift. I'm assuming going off of this, obviously this summer with Disney and how they're doing with Epic and Universal.
Well, now that
these guys are privy to a lot of information, and they can kind of tell what's going on, even without getting direct information necessarily from Disney per se. There's a lot of data they get that they can kind of extrapolate from and kind of figure out what's going on in the overall market.
Oh yeah.
So if he's saying it, I'm sure it's happening. Go ahead, Summer. I'm sorry to cut you off.
No, you're good, brother. And on to your point, one thing that I think that they could probably do, and I'm just guessing. I've never done this. This has never been one of my my fortes in any sort of the jobs that I worked. But I'm assuming that if you're looking at all of the of course, because they have their list of people that have purchased tickets, right? So you go online, it creates a database. They can pull up whether Rogue Attraction.
What's up, Rogue?
They can look to see if you ever purchased a ticket to Universal Studios based off of your credit card number, your name, your email, right? And they can just reference that to their existing database of purchasers. And then using an algorithm, I'm sure they can find out how many people are newcomers to or to the Universal Resort Park because of Epic Universe by basically just subtracting the newcomers from existing park goers, and so sort of kind of create a database, something like that. So
yeah, and what's interesting is Universal has said previously they expected to reach a new audience, like not people who are theme park people. Essentially, they're not going after just say Disney people trying to get them to come over to Universal, which there is going to be some of that, but they basically have been saying for a while that they're bringing in people to the theme park market, which Disney also has said that there is this new market coming in. I think a lot of it is referring to Universal bringing them in, and that those people would go over to Disney. Now, we don't know how that went this summer, but they're both kind of saying the same thing here. So I do think with Super Nintendo World, maybe even with Dark Universe, I guess you could even say How to Train Your Dragon, that they are bringing in a new group of people into a theme park that haven't traditionally been going to theme parks, at least going to Universal per se.
And that's smart. That's really smart. They're trying to tap into a whole new market. I know Disney has wanted to do that. They've mentioned that a few years ago. They want to get people who've never been to a Disney park to go. Obviously, I think that's a really smart strategy on Universal's part, because here's the thing too. One of Disney's biggest successes is sort of getting people into their parks and creating nostalgia for these places, and they pass it on to their kids and what have you. If you can get people, first time going to Universal as a not really a theme park person, but maybe their first experience with theme parks is Universal, you're already setting that nostalgia up. You're already getting these people in there, and now you kind of create this whole environment with this particular crowd of like Universal being their first park, and that's going to create a lifetime of nostalgia for them, and they're going to pass that on to their kids and what have you. So I think it's a really smart move on their part. And Universal too also has a lot of IPs and a different direction with theme parks that Disney doesn't really have that could appeal to a lot of other fans. Go ahead, Jared.
Well, on that topic, they got to talk about the Universal Kids Resort and what they're doing with the Horror Unleashed, and it very much feeds into that. So they asked him about the kids resort, what's the game plan there? And Mark Woodbury said, we have a terrific pipeline of intellectual property in the form of DreamWorks, Trolls, Gabby's Dollhouse, all that stuff. And so Frisco, Texas is our first Universal Kids Resort. So he's already alluding to there's going to be more. That allows us to both segment the audience and segment our portfolio of properties, and in the process build a regional product that is sort of a rite of passage for families and much more accessible for young families in the regional form. They get to go to the park from all over Texas, Oklahoma, Kansas, and a 300-room hotel is part of it. Great product and a feeder as they age up. And they basically said this as well, that like they look at the Universal parks as they are now as like 8 years old and up. So basically saying as they hit that 8 years old and up, they graduate to the bigger parks, but they've already grown up with Universal, aligned with our brand, and then they grow up into our bigger parks. So they're basically using these as a feeder to get kids and families to know the Universal name, and then they'll want to come over to Epic and the other parks, Hollywood and all that.
I think that's a good strategy, but there is a risk to this, because these parks, this kid park is not going to be on the same level in terms of quality that you would obviously get in even Hollywood or Orlando. So it is a little risky where you're introducing people to a kind of a more budgeted version of Universal, and this is going to be across the country. I mean, they're kind of getting into this regional market thing, which Universal right now is already above the regional parks. In my opinion, they are really Disney's #1 competitor. So to kind of dive into the regional thing is sort of a little bit of a step down. So it is a little bit of a risk, but I see what he's saying too, though, where I can see the other side of the argument, where it's like you get people in and you get them, in there when they're kids, and they get a taste for, how great Universal parks are, and then they graduate to these other parks. I think that could be also the case, but it's also a risk because you're getting them in there in a much more budgeted experience, and that might kind of, first impressions matter is kind of what I'm saying. So it can kind of go either way, in my opinion. It's risky, but it could also pay off hugely. So,
well, it also, I don't think, given that Universal is obviously, they don't have as much land to work with. So instead of dedicating more space, and I think fighting with Disney on their home target, like, it's undeniable, Disney kind of owns that under 8 years old market when it comes to the parks. Universal's made strides there, but you're also going up against the strongest thing that Disney has. By going this regional model, you bring it closer to people. They can go there. I'm sure it's going to be cheaper. It obviously appeals that they're easier. I think this park is costing $500 million to build, in reference, like Epic Universe was $6 to $8 billion to build. So you can build these parks cheaper. You get kids going in there, and now they have the IPs to do this stuff, to get them into the brand. But instead of trying to compete with Disney on that side, they're actually going out to where they're at and kind of reaching them there. I'm personally speaking, I think it's a very ingenious thing that could pay off, because this is obviously a long-term play. Like, they're thinking way down the line, which I love the fact that they are thinking like that, because this isn't something they're going to see the benefits of in the next couple of years necessarily. They're going to start seeing the benefits potentially, 5+ years, when these kids all start getting older. And then it's like, do they see a bump in attendance from that? And I'm sure they would know internally if those, these new people coming to the big parks, did they go to the Frisco parks or other things like that? So I think, given how they're competing with Disney and how they are, it's kind of an interesting strategy to go this route.
Well, and what does it mean for parks like Legoland? Go ahead, Summer.
Yeah.
Well, what I like about this strategy is that there really is. You would think that at first there's a lot of overlap with Disney fans and Legoland fans, but I think they're appealing to a completely demographic of kids. Now, the age bracket is probably the same. They're probably looking at that 3 to 12 age demographic. But if you look at, for example, kids that like to go to Legoland, usually they are interactive kids. They like to interact with their toys, whether it be Minecraft or Legos, and they usually like to explore their creative side. And they're not so much more interested in things outside of that. At least when I was a Lego kid, I really, anytime I played with toys, I was using a lot of creativity to create scenarios or to make, makeshift stuff out of Legos, which is why Minecraft was, the licensing rights of Minecraft were purchased by Legoland, because the overlap of that demographic is very similar. There's a lot of overlap there. But when you look at, I don't know, when you look at the IP that they picked for this park, there's a lot of stuff here that I just don't see a lot of overlap with when it comes to Legoland, and then by extension Minecraft, once they start integrating those into the domestic and UK Legoland parks. But then when you look at the Disney IP, I don't see a lot of overlap there either. So, for example, we know that Disney's primary audience is 70% females. This has a lot of boy stuff in it. First and foremost, it has Jurassic Park, which is dinosaurs. Dinosaur toys have never stopped selling.
Nope. My son is into kid loves dinosaurs. Yeah,
dinosaur toys sell every year, guaranteed. Kids, little boys specifically, love dinosaurs. Okay.
SpongeBob too. SpongeBob's heavy into boys too.
Then you have SpongeBob. Now SpongeBob, you're probably gonna have a lot more overlap with the Mickey Mouse, because usually when you're watching TV and you want, you got to get dressed to go to work in the morning, you put the kid in front of the television to, make sure that he's occupied so you can get ready for work. What's he gonna watch? He's gonna watch Mickey Mouse Clubhouse, and he's gonna watch SpongeBob. So I can definitely see a lot more overlap in there, but there is a massive SpongeBob audience that is not in any way interested in Mickey Mouse as well. And then you have Shrek. Shrek is kind of its own thing. And even though Shrek, you can kind of say, well, people that enjoy Shrek enjoy the Disney animation. Again, the Shrek audience, while seeming similar at the outset, I think is a different audience than, because there's a lot more adult innuendos and entertainment. You got Eddie Murphy, Mike Myers doing the voices. So it's very much like a product of I don't know. It's like a product from the early 2000s. And so this might be.
They do have that new movie coming out. So
and they have the new movie coming out. So, and then when you're looking at it from a numbers aspect, if you look at park operating expenses, it's usually about 30 to 50%. So this park only really needs a target a target revenue of about 90 to 110 million dollars a year in order for it to be profitable year over year. So, so what do they got to make? 50 to 70 million dollars net, and they're profitable. That's a low bar. That's a low target. They can easily do that if it's executed well. It doesn't have to be executed on the same quality as Universal Orlando Studios, primarily because of the age and the fact that I think the other thing I like about this too, guys, is that it's more like a 1990s McDonald's by design than than a traditional, highly themed, highly immersive, multi-billion-dollar theme park. So in this sense, what they're doing is they're placing their eggs everywhere as opposed to just one basket, which is multi-billion-dollar, highly themed, highly immersive, niche, kind of a park. So in that sense,
I don't even know if this needs to be profitable necessarily if they're looking at it for future growth. I mean, it could be a break even and be considered successful as well.
Well, that too. Like it could be a movie that doesn't necessarily make its box office movies back, but it makes it all back on video on demand and their licensing agreements and the toys and things like that. So yeah, you're very right.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. One of the things. See, okay, for Horror Unleashed, right? That's not a theme park. That's like a standalone, like themed experience, right? So for me personally, I don't see really any risk in that, like tarnishing the main Universal brand or the theme park brand. This one though does make me a little nervous, just because you're building theme parks and it's regional and it's not on the same level. See, one of the things that Disney has really done that it's created this premium brand sort of image. And a lot of that premium brand image comes from the fact that you can't get Disney in every backyard. I mean, it's Paris, Hong Kong, Shanghai, Florida. It's kind of a little bit more selective. So it gives that air of like more of that premium product. I think my only worry is just mass producing parks all over the place. Does Universal sort of water that down? Because I think right now Universal is a premium product. I mean, but do you water that down though when you have 15 of these little parks across the country? Not saying that's going to happen, but I'm just saying I feel like the potential is there for that, and that makes me worried. Horror Unleashed, I don't feel like that because that's not a direct compare. That's not an apples to apples thing because that's not a theme park. That's more like a Disney Quest kind of thing, but this is a theme park, so there is a little bit of a risk factor, in my opinion. But
well, we haven't seen the finished product yet.
Yeah,
but I do have a feeling it'll be. I would be surprised if these aren't very well done, clean parks, like just kiddie versions of it. I mean, it is a risk on some level, but you've also seen Disney with the Disney Plus shows with like Iron Man and Friends and Spidey and Friends. It's the same concept of having kids get into a brand when they're young, and then eventually they move on and want to see the Spider-Man movies and Iron Man and all that stuff. So it might be a little bit of a risk. I think it's something thinking outside the box, because I think they probably looked at it. They've tried, DreamWorks Land, they've added Minions stuff, and they could be looking at that and just seeing like, we may be making progress, but we're also swinging against this massive, we have this massive tree, which is Disney and kids, that we can take an axe to, but we could also just start over here and see if we can make, there may be more ground to make up in the long run. And he kind of alluded to that as well, of saying like they think this is and I always likened it to like a funnel on a sales website. That's kind of the way they're going about this. But I always like when these companies think long term, because I think Disney a lot of times is quarter by quarter, just trying to up revenues a lot. Not that they don't have long term plans, but I think this is one of the strengths Universal has, is they don't have as much pressure on the theme parks that are going to affect the stock price. They kind of operate in their own little bubble. And I don't know if Disney were to do this. Now, they could end up doing this. Maybe. I don't think they would, unless these were like insanely profitable and Universal's knocking out of the park. But it is an interesting model. And somebody here brought up, and I'll hit up the comments here in a second. Get caught up, guys. Where did they say this? Oh, Xvoot said, funny, only 500 million. You could build 2 Six Flag Magic Mountains or 2 Cedar Points for that money. Imagine a Universal Extreme regional push. It would put Six Flags out of business. I do think you could have some of these regional parks like Six Flags, if these are successful, they could be the ones that really feel this.
Well, that's an interesting. Xboot brings up an interesting concept there, right? Because they're doing Universal is doing regional kid parks right now, But what if they did a regional coaster style park?
Yeah.
Now, obviously, it would be more themed, but imagine an entire park with a bunch of Velocicoaster kind of attractions. I mean, that would crush Six Flags.
Oh, they'd be done. Yeah, yeah.
They'd be done.
And you know, when it comes to the regional parks, and this is actually the problem with them, is that the quality varies dramatically. I mean, you have Six Flags, you have this one in Valdosta, Georgia. I can't even, I forgot what it's called, but it's nobody goes there.
I've driven by it, but I've never been. Yeah.
Yeah. And then you have, you know, regional parks like Dollywood, which win awards year over year, and it's a regional park. So the level of execution can vary so wildly. Now, I'm hoping that this is erring closer on the side of a Dollywood than a Six Flags, and I think it obviously will because it's being done by Universal Studios. But you know, the other thing too is that Universal Studios, I think they're trying to they want to take a wide net approach when it comes to their business investment strategy, and the reason they're taking a wide net approach is because when you try to compete with Disney directly, see, you're going to have to go against the Disney brand itself, which is like you're extremely bought into Disney if you're a Disney fan. And to rip away Disney fans to go to your Universal parks is going to cost you 5 times more money than it is to just get new guests and new attendees to go to your park. So they don't want to get into that kind of like, you know, like a combative scenario, at least marketing wise. But secondly, when you're using a wide net business strategy, you're appealing to people who don't want to invest that much into the brand. They're very passé when it comes to how they consider their relationship to, let's say, Universal as a brand in this case, versus Disney, where you know, a lot of people that consider themselves Disney fans, they identify with the brand very deeply and intensely because of the nostalgia that brand has created for them. And if Universal is smart, what they'll do is they'll kind of split the risk and say, okay, we're going to try to create that at Epic Universe by introducing, you know, magical IP like Harry Potter, Lord of the Rings. Okay, fine. But if you are only invested in that, then you're going to go against the king, which is Disney, and you're probably going to lose. But by casting a wider net and also appealing to people who don't necessarily have the time or the money to invest in a brand and creating these regional parks like Halloween Halloween Horror Nights Unleashed, and then of course the regional kids parks, I think is a pretty wise business strategy because they're not putting all their eggs in one basket. Disney can afford that risk because of the brand loyalty and the fact that, you know, the audience knows them. They don't have to sell the brand per se. Universal still does, especially if they're trying to compete for market share.
Well, that's an interesting concept, Slimer, that you bring up, like kind of this counter programming sort of approach, where it's like Walt Disney said it best. You're not going to, you can't top pigs with pigs, right? When you were talking about the 3 Little Pigs and doing a sequel for that. I mean, Universal's kind of strategy is like, we're going to compete with Disney, but we're not going to try to be Disney while we're competing.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So
I think that's key.
Yeah. That's super massive.
Well, and they're also trying to create their own nostalgia with this. Like, obviously, Disney has had that for generations. Now, I've talked about before. I wonder how that will go into the future, considering Disney doesn't have the stranglehold on kids like they used to, in terms of, you know, kids growing up with just being a Disney kids. My kids being an example, like they enjoy some Disney content, but I would say it's not their favorite stuff as they've gotten to be 4, 5, 6 years old and older. A lot of it turns into Minecraft and Sonic and, you know, K-pop Demon Hunter, stuff like that. So there's a lot more choices out there now. So Universal's trying to go out there and just, you know, they do have more IPs to do this now than they used to. And they could bring, I don't know, they're not doing it in Frisco, but they could bring Nintendo into these kid parks, which would be very interesting because I think that would be huge.
Oh, that would be such a mint for them. That would be perfect.
Like all the Yoshi stuff they could do, the baby Marios, like you could really, I'm actually kind of surprised they haven't, unless there's some sort of thing they have with Nintendo about where and how they can do these for now. But yeah, I think potentially it could be a very successful strategy for them. And it's hacking. Obviously they've made no qualms that, you know, and Mark Woodbury alluded to it in this conference that basically they want to be the number one choice. Like they want to take on Disney. They understand what they're going up against, but they're not necessarily going to just, like you were saying, OG, they're not going to take Disney's model and just repeat it. They're kind of going to do their own way here. So it's interesting. I think it'll be. We won't know the effects of this probably for about a decade, though, if I were to guess about how successful it is. But
well, it's a tall order to fill, and I'm not saying it's impossible. And actually, Universal, I've been on the Universal hype train for a while now. I've been loving what they're doing out here in Hollywood. I loved HHN. We went the other day; it was a lot of fun. But I think it's very possible they could actually overcome Disney eventually. Here, it's a challenge though, and the challenge is because Disney is really like almost like a religion to a lot of people. It's become so interwoven with the culture. So if Universal plays its cards right, it has to be like a two-prong approach, right? Where
Exactly.
where they're making content in the theaters and on streaming and on TV that's resonating with families and that's hitting on that level, and also in the parks. If they can do that, if they can hit it from all the different cultural angles and beat Disney that way, I think we have a real chance here. I don't think they get there though just by doing good parks. I think you also need to also create content that's moving the needle culturally as well, because that's Disney's biggest secret. That's the sauce right there, is that Disney, it's that nostalgia. It's not just the parks, it's the characters, the stories, the movies, all that stuff is what really drives the park stuff too. So Universal needs to get on that level as well. And I think they could. I really do. I think Comcast has done a really, really good job at running this company, and they really seem to get it. They're leaning hard into stuff they should be leaning hard into, so we'll see what happens. But I mean, yeah, it's possible they could eventually take them over, but it's definitely long game though. It's not going to happen in 5 years,
you're talking. Yeah, I mean, I'm the same way. I think they could. You're talking 10, 20 plus years. It's a long battle, and I think they know that, and they're not making any qualms that they're gonna. He wasn't even alluding to market share as if they've like, oh, we've overtaken Disney. He's just saying we're seeing a shift already in this short time span. So, he's not making any bombastic claims. Which one thing I love. By the way, I love Mark Woodbury. Everything I've heard about the guy. He seems level-headed. He seems intelligent. He's got a creative background, which I love. Somebody running your parks. This would be like Joe Rohde becoming the president of the Disney parks. And I think that's something that park fans should absolutely applaud. And I think he's the right guy for this. And I don't know if this is his idea or if this is other people in the marketing, but I think it's a very interesting out of the box idea to go about it this way. But let's catch up on some comments and we'll talk about, he talked about Epic expansion as well. Remy D says, I'm curious what they will charge for the kids park. It can't be more than $75.
It'd be cheap.
It's a good question. I keep thinking 50 to 75.
Yeah,
maybe less. That'll be a good, interesting concept. Maybe when they start out, it'd be much cheaper. But Rogue Attraction says, "Will people fly to a kids-only park?"
But see, that's the thing, Rogue. But that's not what this park's trying to be. Though.
Right. He even said that. He said driving distance between like Oklahoma, Kansas, like in Texas, where they're putting this. They even mentioned this is a growing community with like younger families. So they put it in a very strategic position that's also within driving distance. Like being from Missouri, you can talk about Oklahoma, all these other states are within 4 hours where you can drive. And that's one reason why they said they put that here.
Yeah, so. I think that, it's a regional park and it's designed for that and that only really, and no one's going to fly down there. It's like people don't really fly to go visit Legoland. You know what I'm saying? Right. It's kind of one of those things, but on a tangent, but not really. I've been really beating the drum on this for many years, but it frustrates me to no end how Disney they want Disneyland Resort in California to be a resort. And they've wanted this for like 25 years, right? Ever since they built DCA, but they're not willing to put the work in. I don't understand. They want the resort, but then they do all these things for California residents and California locals. Well, you're never going to be a resort Disney that's really, competing with like a Walt Disney World. I mean, I know realistically it's never going to be on the same level, but if you really want more tourists, incentivize people from out of state, out of country. Why are we continuously going after the California market while you're trying to become more of a resort? I don't understand that. And they don't market this resort like they should, in my opinion. It's frustrated me for years. It really has, because Disneyland Resort has a lot to offer the world, and a lot of people don't know that because Disney doesn't sell it. You know what I'm saying? They're so busy selling to Californians that the people from Australia or Japan have no idea. So I don't know. For me personally, I wish they would market more outside and try to incentivize. Get more incentivization with the hotels and stuff. Get people, give the discounts and all that for people traveling from afar, but all they do is they just want to give Californians the discounts, and then they sit and they wonder why that there's not the tourism numbers aren't up, And I gotta say, at Universal Studios Hollywood, I've been there a lot this year, a lot this year, and anecdotally, I know that I don't want to, I'm not privy to like actual numbers. I'm fully admitting this is anecdotal, but I see a lot more international guests at Universal Hollywood than I do Disneyland. When I go to Disneyland, it's a lot of Magic-y locals. You can just tell when when I'm at Universal Studios Hollywood, I'm walking and I'm hearing people speaking in different languages. It's much more international. And I will say that has really surprised me. I would never have guessed that. Now, this is anecdotal. So again, I don't know the numbers. It could be that Disneyland is attracting more international, but anecdotally, I feel like Hollywood's doing it, So, and that's sad for me to see that, because Disneyland's a treasure of a place. I mean, that's Walt Disney's original park. Come on, Disney. Let's sell this. Let's share this treasure with the world, but they never want to do it.
OG, let me ask you, because I know that some cities will oppose tourism, against their best interests, for various reasons. Do you know if the city of Anaheim is one of those that just oppose tourism because for whatever reason you might think of?
I don't think. I mean, offhand, I don't think they oppose tourism. I do think, though, pre-pandemic, Anaheim really didn't appreciate Disney, where they felt they kind of took Disney for granted, I think, a little bit, or not even a little bit, a lot, where they kind of, they took the resort for granted, and there was a lot of pushback on everything Disney wanted to do, whether it be Westcott or other stuff. I think when the pandy hit, and really when the gravy train, stopped, I think it really opened Anaheim's eyes. Like, you know what? Disneyland is like the economic engine. It kind of was a wake-up call. So they've been more cooperative with Disney trying to do stuff. But I still feel like there's just not a big enough push for that outside tourism. And again, like I said, it's never going to be Walt Disney World. There's never going to be another Walt Disney World anywhere. You're never going to duplicate that. But I think you can try to do more. And I'm not saying that we need to like make it where like locals become, non-important. I don't want anyone to feel like that. I mean, I'm a local. I mean, but I just want Disneyland Resort to have a bigger piece of that tourism market and just not so locals heavy. And I think it's possible if they actually try,
Well, I can tell you, I living in Missouri and in Florida. Obviously, Florida, I don't see any advertisements for Disneyland, but in Missouri, I didn't see anything for Disneyland. It was always Disney World. So I'm curious how far east they do any advertising for really trying to get people to actively go to Disneyland.
That's a good point. And I wouldn't be surprised if the city commission is getting a lot of pressure from the local residents to keep tourists out of Anaheim. Because that's one of the things that we saw during the Disneyland Forward commission meetings. There was a lot of pushback from locals. They don't like it. In particular, and particularly the ones that have lived there for a very long time. Yep. They like their city the way it is. They don't want a bunch of tourists in there, because then it's going to turn, if you've been to a tourist city, you know how much it can kind of suck sometimes. Like if you've been down iDrive, iDrive sucks. Everything's a Pizza Hut or a gas station or a store that's selling, fake Disney t-shirts. And a lot of people don't want to see those in those cities. They think it degrades the quality of the city, and it just brings a lot of people they feel like don't need to be there for for one reason or another. So I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if they're getting a lot of pushback. But like you said, man, follow the money trail. It is the financial engine of Anaheim, just like Walt Disney World is the financial engine of Orlando. So buck up, Anaheim. Just accept it. You're going to make more money if you allow tourists to go there anyway. So like, come on.
Exactly.
They're allergic to money. All right, we'll run through a few of these more of these comments, get caught up a little bit here. Storybook Sorcerer says it also works the other way when you go hoping for the premium product and then the experience at Disney does not live up to it. Mickey's Not So Scary Halloween Party has been rough this year.
That's a fantastic point, Storybook. You're right. When you're selling yourself as Louis Vuitton, but you're not delivering on Louis Vuitton, that's a problem. So that's a fantastic point.
Thing, and we'll talk about that in a minute about some of the negative reviews about Epic Universe, I've kind of brought up a similar point that just remind me about that. But that analogy is perfect because if you're paying Louis Vuitton prices and you're not getting the Louis Vuitton product, then you're immediately going to be disappointed. But it could have been, you wouldn't have been disappointed if the price was lower or something.
Right.
And that's the challenge I think Disney World has, is they keep upping the price by pulling the perks away. And at some point, you're going to unbalance that where people are like, okay, this is ridiculous. And
well, 100%. If I'm driving through McDonald's and they put mayo on my sandwich, I hate mayo, by the way.
I love mayonnaise. Oh, aioli is the way to go. That's the fancy mayonnaise.
And if I go through it and they put mayonnaise or whatever on there, I'm taking a napkin to it. I'll just dab it off. No big deal. But if I'm at Morton's Steakhouse, I'm going to be picky. I'll probably send it back. You know what I'm saying? So, the price you pay dictates what you're going to do. And
my analogy was, you buy a Ford Focus for, say, $20,000. And it's like, it's a fine car. Like, it's got the stuff you want to get you where you need to go. Like, no bells and whistles, whatever. You're happy with it. Let's say you buy that same Ford Focus, but you paid $100,000 for it. And then you see, well, what could I have got for $100,000? You're like, well, damn, I could have got a Mercedes. Like, this car sucks. And it's not the fact that the car itself sucks. It sucks in comparison to how much your money got. And I think this is where you get into the pricing and expectations. And you're going to feel like you got duped if you spent $100,000 on a Focus, even though the Focus is a fine car for its price range. But if you pay too much for it, then all of a sudden, the view on it changes completely.
Well, and I want to use HHN as a perfect example of like the confidence Universal has, right? So I have the Platinum AP at Universal. That's like the high tier AP, right? With that Platinum AP, you get one free admission into HHN, right? Now Disney would never do that with any.
It's the same thing we get in Orlando, by the way. We get one to the premium side,
right? And I love that. And here's the thing, that to me shows Universal is proud of the experience they're providing at HHN, because they're like, you know what, we're going to give it to you for free, because we know when you go there, you're going to want to come back. And next time you come, you're going to pay for that ticket. And that's exactly what's going to happen to me. I went in with the free ticket on Friday. I was chilling with Tommy, Tune, and Conductor. Shout out to those guys, are awesome. But I didn't get to go on everything. I didn't do all the mazes. So I'm going to actually buy a ticket now, and I'm going to actually do it again. But see, it's brilliant because they get you hooked on it with the freebie, and then that kind of gets you to do it. Now, Disney would never do that though. And here's the other thing too, even when you're paying for this stuff, like Oogie Boogie Bash is like so expensive, and you get like not even an iota of what you're getting at HHN. You can get a ticket and express pass at Universal for less than an Oogie Boogie ticket. Go ahead, Tom.
No, you're 100% right. And the problem is that Universal Studios completely discombobulates Disney World's pricing model when it comes to Mickey's Not So Scary Halloween Party, because you can get a base ticket for Halloween Horror Nights over here for $79.
Yep.
So for starting at $79, obviously more often than not, it's going to be a lot more than $79. It's going to probably be closer to $100, $150. But the fact that it's starting at $79, people already know they're going to get a higher value at Hollywood Horror Nights. So why would they even go to Mickey's Not So Scary Halloween Party unless they're strictly restricted by the fact that they have little ones and they're good parents and they don't believe in taking their kids to go see Halloween Horror Nights? So like, okay, like if that's your situation, I totally respect you as a parent. Please 100%. Don't take your kids to Halloween Horror Nights, 100%. But for everybody else,
I agree with that.
They're looking at the pricing at Mickey's Not So Scary. They're seeing that it hasn't been updated since like 2003. And they're like, where's the value? Especially once you've done it a couple of times. Does anybody go to Mickey's Not So Scary Halloween Party year over year consecutively unless they're not a vlogger? I mean,
yeah. Well, like we went, it was 2019. I remember we went to, it was like 70 some odd bucks with our AP discount. The kids were, we could go as a family of 4 for, a couple $100, somewhere around there, like maybe $300. Now they're all like, I think that's $130 starting this year is where and up to $199, I think is where it goes up to now. And the party hasn't changed a bit. You've got a couple of things here and there, but Halloween Horror Nights obviously has a year by year, like new houses every year, new stuff every year. There's stuff to check out. And, Disney's going to keep charging more until they don't sell these parties out. So if the customer keeps paying it, it's hard to fault Disney, but on some level, once people stop paying that, I think Disney could be in a tricky situation because some of those people are just not going to want to come back at the prices that they're charging. They would have to revamp that party or lower ticket prices. And I just don't think Disney will ever lower ticket prices outside of running some sort of discounts.
And here's what's crazy is that Universal Studios is now running what's called a premium night, which this year was $50 more than last year. So last year they introduced it at $350, and this year it's at $400. Now, granted, it's got all inclusive food.
It's sold out this year too.
That's the thing, dude, is that it's not cheaper, and yet it's still sold out. So what does that tell you? That tells you that people consider Halloween Horror Nights to be a better value, whether it's on the lower pricing scale or at the highest pricing scale.
Yeah. Good point.
Oh, I'm telling you, man. Look, I've said it before, and for people watching that are not aware, I don't care about Halloween, and I don't like horror movies. And I went to HHN last October, and I had the best time. And here I am again. Like, I am an HHN fanboy now. I mean, for me to not care about Halloween, and I'm at this event religiously now, says a lot. It's a quality event. The food and check out Tommy Toon on YouTube. He's gonna do a full review of the foods and everything. I did a little bit of recording with him, but the Fallout restaurant at HHN was dope, dude. The food was fantastic. Really clever food options and everything. It's just a fun time, man. We're trying to eat our food here, and the clowns are trying to kill us while we're sitting there. It's great.
It's such a unique thing to it is a cool event. I'm the same boat that we talked about before. I hate horror. I'm not huge on Halloween, but I love Halloween Horror Nights. I think it's a good time. Remy D says, have you guys gone to Six Flags website lately? 60% off this, 50% off that. Looks like Temu. Oh yeah. I literally wonder about Six Flags in the next 10 years.
Yeah.
Well, here's the thing. And now going back to before we get to Jacob Welly here, here's why Universal is going to crush the regional parks is because, and we were actually having a conversation with this with Webba and Jay Shearer. The regional parks, specifically United Parks and who took over SeaWorld Entertainment and Six Flags, with their free cash flow, what do they like to do? They like to buy back their shares to increase the stock prices.
Yep.
Universal Studios is going to reinvest that money back into their parks. So what they do with their free cash flow, their behavior is totally different. And by doing this and by continuously investing in the guest experience, Six Flags, unless they change the way that they treat their shareholders and say, hey, look, we're going to invest in the guest experience so that way we can increase the value so people can find reasons to come to our parks over the other competitors, Universal is going to crush them. I think Universal knows that.
Well, and here's the thing. No, they will. And here's the thing. Times are changing, right? A lot of these companies, and even Disney is doing this to some degree with these roller coasters, like, Cosmic Rewind. You have coasters like Velocicoaster and all that stuff, which, back in the day, Disney and Universal really weren't known for like crazy coasters, right? But they're starting to offer that now. So when you're a company like Six Flags, why would I go to Six Flags? I can go to Universal and check out Velocicoaster. I can go to even Disney and do Cosmic Rewind. Not only will I get a dope coaster, but now I'm also going to get some theming thrown in there. I mean, that Fast and Furious Hollywood Drift is coming to Hollywood. That thing is going to blow away. I mean, that's going to rival just about anything Six Flags can throw at you. I mean, that thing's going to be nuts. So I think that's a real problem for Six Flags. What are they going to do? Because what does Six Flags bring to the table that I can't get at Universal or Disney at this point?
Right.
Just
cheaper tickets.
Right.
I mean, honestly, they just compete on price. That's I mean, and then they have an image problem, kind of with Carnival Cruise Line, where it's just like people start going like, I don't want to go there. Like you got stuff that it's just, you've had issues of like fights, and it's not. And I think this is where you talk about pricing of theme parks, where people want not prices get crazy, but you also don't want prices to be like. And that's one I have a question about the Netflix houses that they're doing, because it's free to enter. And I'm like, that sounds like a nightmare when you have free entry to places, because it's just, it just does not sound like a good time when you have free entry. So I wonder about Six Flags. I actually don't think they'll be around in 20 years, if I were to guess, or they'll be bought. Something will shift.
Completely.
Jacob, get to Jacob's thing. We're going to talk about that in just a moment, Jacob, about adding to Epic. They will be doing that. J. Brad says, when do you think Universal or Disney, which one will be the first one to build a park in South America? I actually don't think they will build one in South America.
No.
Well, it's interesting though, because Disney had, I think it was in 2024, they had D23 Brazil.
Mm-hmm.
I think Disney's sort of like weather ballooning this a little bit. I mean, I don't know if it's going to happen anytime soon. Obviously, we still have Abu Dhabi and all that. But the fact that they had that D23 there, though, I don't know. I'm kind of feeling
also
like
could be. There's a lot of Brazil that comes to Disney World.
Yeah.
A
Yes.
lot.
You can always tell they're Brazilian because they travel in Congo lines.
Yeah, they chant a lot too. They're if you know there's like when you see a Brazil tour group, you're like, oh gosh, like you just they're not really there's a lot of annoyance that goes along with those.
Yeah,
many
not very
times.
discreet. Yeah.
That's why.
Let's see here.
Well, yeah, and that's another thing too, right? Where it's like if they were to build in Brazil, knowing that, you know, a lot of that part of the world does go to Walt Disney World, would Disney want to risk that, right? Because that would cut into Walt Disney World then, I would think.
Yeah,
You know,
I would.
that's a
It's
risky
close
move.
enough to travel. Yeah, and that's on. I just don't think the South American market at this point is one where they're going to invest billions of dollars into a theme park at this point.
What about a cruise line, like a port?
You could
Disney
do a
Cruise
port.
Line?
I could see a port for sure.
Mhm.
Yeah, that I could definitely see. Maybe maybe a regional park model, but even then, I don't know. I feel like that. I've never heard much about either one of them really looking at South America.
If they go build a port in South America, I'm sorry, it can't be in Brazil. It's got to be Belize.
I would agree. Yeah. J. Brad also says the best Nintendo IP for little kids would definitely be Kirby, Yoshi, baby. Yeah, that's the thing about Nintendo. It appeals to kids. It appeals to adults. Like them getting Nintendo into their parks I think is going to end up being one of the most successful third-party agreements they've ever done. I think it's instant nostalgia. It's instant generations that have loved Nintendo that are wanting to come check this out to go walk into, you know, a Super Nintendo world.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, no, it's 4-quadrant 1000%. The fact that all of us, the three of us, grew up on that brand, and kids today that are, you know, 9-10 years old are obsessed with that brand too, says it all.
I mean, my kids had just as much fun in Super Nintendo World as I did, and we were doing the same stuff. They got a little game in there where you do you put the band on there and you do these little games. We did that for like 3 hours, and we weren't even riding rides at that point. We're just going around doing all the different stuff, and you see it when you're in there. Like you see families and kids and adults. Like it's kind of amazing to see it, and then what they'll continue to do with it. I think is going to be. It may be bigger than the Wizarding Worlds. I actually think Nintendo is that big potentially. Where
I think so too.
It could end up doing more.
And here's why. To OG's point, why it's 4-quadrant. It's multi-generational. It appeals to the video game demographic. It also is the merchandise is very appealing. You cannot even play Nintendo and buy Nintendo merchandise just because of the aesthetic, the appeal, the way it looks, the cuteness. Right? My wife. She doesn't play Nintendo. I don't think she's ever had a Nintendo. Okay.
What?
She had to have the Donkey Kong banana fanny pack. I mean, come on, right? Like that's Nintendo's flywheel at work right there. Yeah. You know what I mean?
Well, then you have the movie, and the movie brought in tons of people. You're gonna have a sequel there. You're gonna have the Zelda movies, and video games are the hot. I mean, I'm telling you right now, superheroes they're going out of Hollywood, and you're going to see a slew of video. They are going to go crazy on video games, and them getting Nintendo now, where this is going to go in the next decade, I think is one of the most genius moves we've seen in a theme park, potentially, maybe ever.
Well, and this is why, as a massive Disney fan, I'm nervous for Disney, right? And if Disney, if you ever watch this, like just take notes a little bit here, because yes, Universal's getting into the video game thing heavy, and they got the top dog there. They got the Mickey Mouse of video games, which is Super Mario. Okay, let's be real, right? But Universal is even doing more than that. They're getting in on the international wave, and what I mean by that is that they're really leaning into like Japanese anime. They're much more willing to have like One Piece and things like that in their parks. That's a huge market. I mean, look what Sony is enjoying right now with K-pop Demon Hunters. I know that's South Korea. It's not Japanese. I understand that. But this kind of stuff from Asia, whether it be South Korea, whether it be Japan, is the hot thing right now with younger people. You know what I'm saying? K-pop, K-dramas. I mean, these things are really influencing the culture way more than a lot of American entertainment. We talked about it on my channel recently. And I don't feel Disney is jumping into that enough, but
And
Universal is, you know what I'm saying? So
there's massive overlap with that and manga. I mean, like,
Oh yeah.
what, 50 to 70% overlap. So if you tracked one demographic, you're just invariably going to track the other.
Yep. And I think we will see. I mean, you already have One Piece in Universal Japan. I think easily within 10 years, you see some sort of anime beyond just merchandise coming to the domestic parks. Whether that's One Piece, it could be another one, but I definitely think it'll make its way, because I also think on top of video games, you will see Hollywood and these studios try and bring that over into, because it's just so big. They tried to ignore it for a long time, but it's so big now, you really can't.
no,
Yeah.
you can't ignore it. You cannot ignore it. I mean, imagine a One Piece e-ticket, or
Oh
it's like
yeah.
Universal's version of a Pirates of the Caribbean style thing, right? I
Yep.
mean, that'd be insane.
Yep. Let's see. Storybook Sorceress says, my family has always come up from Brazil to visit Walt Disney World and added 2 days at Universal. Next year, they are coming for their first Universal only trip. It is happening. I have seen so many comments on my channel from people saying, for 20 years, we would go every year, every 2 years to Disney World. This is the first year where either we're going to both Disney and Universal, or we're just going to Universal only. And I mean, it's anecdotal, of course, on my channel, but I would say easily within the last 6 months, I've probably seen 200 comments around that. And I think there's a lot of people in that same boat. So even if they don't go to Disney, maybe they went a full week before. Now they're splitting that time. And that's something Disney's going to feel as well. And I've been saying that, I've probably been on that beat for a year and a half now, about like, under that scenario, that's still something that affects Disney, even if they don't quit going to Disney.
Right. Yeah, no, it's going to be interesting to see how the whole thing shakes out. I will say Universal definitely has momentum right now, and you can kind of feel the energy, because I'm a big Disney guy. I mean, first and foremost, I grew up with Disney. That's kind of where my heart's at, but I do love Universal too. But I've been going to Universal so much lately, and it's like, for a person like me who is very much rooted in that Disney thing for so many years, I mean, decades and decades, kind of says a lot, right? I mean, there's just that, it's just Universal right now has that 90s Disney energy.
I think we've talked about before. I think they do. I think this is their 90s Disney resurgence era right now. And I know somebody that works for Disney in Imagineering, and they even told me to my face, it's Universal's time right now.
Yeah.
Like they openly said, like, obviously their work, they just said, like, the stuff they're doing is incredible. Like they're being innovative. They're taking chances. Like they're kind of doing stuff that we kind of haven't seen since Disney did, the resurgence of the parks in the 90s under Eisner.
Yeah. OG and I were having a conversation about that on a live just the other day.
Yeah. I think it's an interesting.
Well, it's interesting because Universal, they're owned by Comcast, a broadband cable company, and that element of that business is really a melting ice cube, right? So Universal's looking for the Hollywood side, the Universal side, how they can offset that business eventually. Probably going.
That's why
away,
they're going
right?
so heavy in the parks, is for that reason right there. I think
100%.
Yeah,
100%. So it benefits us as park fans for sure.
Oh yeah. Let's see here. I'm gonna have to scroll down, and then let's go into our next topic here, and then we'll catch up in the comments a little bit. So a part of this conference as well, Mark Woodbury also, they asked him a question about Epic expansion, which he did. This is kind of interesting. So he didn't give like direct answers, but he gave if you know what to read between the lines, this part is very interesting. So he says, if you fly over Epic or you look at Google Earth, you'll see how we plan the park, and you'll see greenfield space between the existing worlds, and that is strategically positioned to give us flexibility to expand the world or create a new world. And so that's how we look at it. I don't really have anything to announce specifically as attractions, but I can tell you that there are multiple attractions in the works, not just at Epic. So I read that as there's multiple at Epic, but also multiple ones coming to these existing parks. But when you have the 3 parks, mind you, he didn't say Volcano Bay because there's 3 parks, the cadence of product delivery across the resort to continue to drive the resort is really a key part of our strategy moving forward. We have a clear line of sight into how far we can take this. It's considerable, and we have a pretty sophisticated and well thought out, thorough, long-range plan that takes us out another decade in terms of product offerings, not just in Orlando, but around the world.
You know,
now, the interesting thing, now, I just want to point out before we discuss, he says cadence of delivery. Now, what I think he's referring to, they've said before they would like to see a new attraction come open every year. I believe that's the cadence he's talking about in terms of the next decade or longer, seeing a new attraction pop up at Universal every single year.
No, that's great. And here's the thing. I think, and I'm sure it's in the plan. I think they really need to take a hard look at IOA, because there's a lot of stuff in that park. Like, for example, Toon Lagoon. None of those IPs are really relevant. Popeye and Betty Boop and all that. I mean, it's cool. It's okay. But like, I mean, Betty Boop, when I see Betty Boop, I think of her as like the merch on Hollywood Boulevard out here in LA. You know, it's not really like, it's kind of like that niche-y kind of thing. You know, you buy like an off-brand Betty Boop shirt. But that park though, between Toon Lagoon, I would even say the Marvel Land, to be honest. I know a lot of fans will disagree with me. And
they'll never get rid of Marvel until Disney pays them. But I know what Disney pays. Yeah,
they're going to have to pay big time for that. And then the Lost Continent, right? There's a lot you can do with IOA. It's ripe for a major reimagining, so to speak. I know, Slimer, you were there with the Italiano like a year ago or something, and you were saying the same thing, kind of like it kind of needs it, right? I mean, so I hope Woodbury is really looking at IOA going, okay, we got a lot of areas here that could use some work. Let's really invest in this park. I think they should.
I think both. I mean, I think studios will get a lot of love because I think studios need some help in terms of, you had Velocicoaster and Hagrid's open in IOA. And I do think, like, I agree with everything you're saying. Toon Lagoon has been outdated since it opened, essentially.
That's true.
But I talked about on a video that they need to replace it. I got a lot of pushback because people love those water rides. But I think you could keep those water rides, refurb them, and then theme it to something different, because people do like those rides, especially in the summertime. But, I mean, speaking of the Italiano, we have a sighting. It's George. What's up, George?
What's going on, man?
I was actually just texting him. I was like, where the hell are you at?
We summoned you because we talked about you had traveled with Slimer at Islands of Adventure.
Yes.
And so you just landed. So I'm glad you got home safe.
Yes, thank you. Yeah, literally just walked through the door.
Nice. That is commitment right there.
You still look sun-kissed, like you just came back from vacation. Like you just came inside from the beach.
Well, I know. And then your hair is like windswept.
Oh yeah. It is
you just get off a modeling shoot and you didn't tell us? Is that what's going on here? He's gonna be on the book cover with Fabio on something.
I actually like your hair like that, George. Not gonna lie.
Good?
Looks good. Yeah.
Hold on. I'm gonna try and hold on. Let me try this again. Am I frozen on your guys' end?
Yes.
Yes.
That's weird.
Oh,
okay. Well,
yeah,
I'll leave it. Whatever. We bring George in and broke my camera. It's fine.
Yes.
We're talking about Woodbury. He said he gave some comments on Epic and basically was saying essentially their cadence to delivery. They got a massive plan going into the next decade and beyond, and that there are multiple things coming to Epic and the existing parks. And essentially what I read between the lines there is him saying that there's multiple things coming to Epic as well as multiple things coming to the existing parks. And they've said before, I think it was like a year or two ago, that they want to see a new attraction open up at Universal like every year. So potentially we could see for the next decade some new attraction or land or something between open up every single year from Universal, from what Woodbury's saying here at this investors conference.
And I think that's smart because from experiencing Epic Universe, it's a great park. It's like a brand new toy, you know, but it definitely has potential for growth, and it definitely needs growth because you never want a park to all feel completed, especially a brand new one right out the gate, you know, and it's, you know, they want to be able to keep it fresh, keep it lively, you know, you keep it up, but at the same time, you can't let the other parks fall to the wayside as well, because even before Epic opened, when Slammer and I went to IOA, it's pretty bad. So now when you compare IOA with that brand new park of Epic, it even looks even more rundown. Actually, I say it, I actually think the studio is in a much better condition than IOA.
Yeah, George and I basically walked out of Islands Adventure. We're just like, this park seems really uninvested in. Like they just have let it go. I mean, other than the Harry Potter stuff, all of it seemingly hasn't been updated since like the early 2000s.
The challenge you have there is they're not going to do anything with Marvel unless Disney just pays them. I think they'll just keep that out of Disney's hands, so that likely will just stay. I think there's a lot of errors. I've heard rumors that Lost Continent that they may extend the Wizarding World just to take up the Lost Continent. Is what I've been.
Yeah.
Now here's the thing I want to bring up to you guys. Do you think Universal has sort of missed their window of opportunity though with trying to sell to Disney the Marvel rights? Because Marvel as a brand right now is kind of dwindling. If they would have seriously sat down with Disney 4 or 5 years ago, they probably would have got more.
I mean, I think that's undoubtedly true that they would have got more there. I would be interested to know behind the scenes if there's how far discussions have ever gotten on the topic. That would be interesting.
And I think also too, what saves Universal with Marvel for right now is their interpretation of it in the parks is more based off of the cartoon comics.
Yep.
And I feel like with the comics, it's a lot more.
It's like timeless.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And I feel like, and especially with a ride like Spider-Man, just, even though I feel like, because actually Slimer and I went on that too, and we came off the ride and we're like, okay, it's not like the hype that it used to be. Which actually, believe it or not, we actually enjoyed Jimmy Fallon a little bit more than Spider-Man.
Okay,
really?
Yeah.
But that's insane to me. That's insane.
I hate Jimmy Fallon's. I hate that ride with such a burning passion. God. First time I went on that thing, I was like, "This sucks."
Now, Jared, I don't know because this is actually being multi-streamed on my channel as well, right?
Oh yeah, I forgot to mention that. Yeah, this is over on Orange Code 55 as well. Yeah.
And our good friend Lucas and Disney, he actually has an interesting comment here. He said, Jared, Wallen Ballin said he had insider info that Lost Continent was possibly being replaced with One Piece. So that's what Wallen Ballin is saying. That
I can tell you, I'm not that I've had some conversation with Wallen, just DMing here and there. He does seem to know some people that I wouldn't be shocked. That would be a swing for sure if they did that. And we've talked about many times. I do think Universal is going to look at doing anime. I would say Lost Continent is a smaller land, so if you were going to take a risk, that would be the land to do it. You think you're talking 8 acres, maybe? I can't remember how big Lost Continent is, but it's not as big as the other lands that you have in that park.
Yeah.
That would be very interesting.
It would be interesting. I mean, we've heard that. We've heard Zelda was being looked at. Now, for Zelda, for me personally, I don't think you go the cartoony look with Zelda. I would like to see freaking huge. I want to see like Wizarding World, Galaxy's Edge, Hyrule. I want this thing to be massive because it's such an epic story. You know what I'm saying?
It seems from what I've heard that Zelda will be going over to Epic. That's the latest I've heard about it. And funny enough, I had heard that from some people. Wallen actually said the same thing. He had heard the same thing. So that could change, of course, but that's the latest I had heard about that.
At first, I was against the idea of consolidating all the Nintendo IP into just one park because then what it does is it takes away the opportunity for guests to experience Nintendo by having to purchase a ticket for every single one of your parks. So from like a business strategy perspective, I've never agreed with the consolidation. But now that Universal Studios is exploring with manga and it's a whole new ballgame now for me because I feel like in a lot of ways, manga as it grows more and more into the United States and pop culture and subculture, which it's already massive. It's bigger than superheroes. That's how big it is. It's just that
it really is.
What I feel like is the comic book companies and honestly Disney and Warner Brothers. They like to make it seem like manga is not as big, but in reality it is because they don't want the comic book
sales. They've been dominating for like 5 years plus.
Yeah, like 4x. I mean, way more. It's like 75% of all graphic novel and comic book sales.
Mm-hmm.
But I think with this just getting bigger and bigger, I think they're probably looking at Nintendo going, you may not be the latest and the greatest and the hottest anymore. You're still hot, but they might be looking at the future, and Mega might be the future, whereas Nintendo is today.
I think it's both. I think Nintendo's also into the future. I think you could have both. I think you can make it work. Now, Zelda going into Epic, if that happens, does make sense to me because I do know their worry about Zelda was it a big enough appeal outside? Like it's kind of niche. I mean, it has a lot of sales. I'm not saying it doesn't, but they were concerned about its appeal to pull people in specifically just for Zelda. But if you tuck it into Super Nintendo world, then it becomes a part of the the encompassing thing, and then it becomes another part they check out. So that I think that's why they would do that. It would be curious if I've heard the Pokemon stuff isn't as solid as it once was about going into Simpsons area because Pokemon's owned by like 4 or 5 different companies.
Yeah,
which could get kind of messy. So if now maybe I don't know. That'd be curious if they end up putting Nintendo in the other parks, which I think you should, like the Wizarding World stuff, but I don't know if they will.
Yeah, absolutely. Xboot said Disney was slighted, no awards this year. But did they open anything recently?
They didn't. Yeah, there was some more. Well, we can talk about it in a second. Yeah, they what was it? Epic got 4. Well, we can just talk about it now. I had 4 golden ticket awards. Monsters Unchained got the best dark ride, which beat out Rise of the Resistance because Rise of the Resistance had won it for 2 years straight. Dark Universe got the best themed land. Stardust Racers got the best coaster, and then Battle of the Ministry got the best new ride installation. Don't really know what that is, but they got 4 awards, and Volcano Bay got voted the best water park.
How did Dark Universe win best themed land against Isla Burke? Get the F out of here. That's not even real.
Yeah,
I get it though. I mean, I love both. I think Dark Universe is such a unique thing. Like I give them a lot of respect for the fact that they did it because like we've all talked about when I first bought Dark Universe, I was like, what? Like you're going to build a land off of like 100-year-old IPs? And they really did execute that land very well. And there was a risk to do it.
I feel like they executed the manor very well.
Right.
Well, the land's small. The land is small.
The land as a whole, I was honestly a little bit disappointed where you see this massive manor and you see the small kind of everywhere. And then you turn the corner and you see this giant roller coaster track just sitting like in the dead center, like surrounded by mosquito netting. And then you go around it, and then you see. I do love the burning windmill, the burning
blade. Yeah,
burning blade. That's really cool. I just feel like that they have very significant moments, but they're too far gapped.
Yeah, I think that land it'll get more stuff in there. I definitely think they made it the smallest because they were just so unsure about how it would be received. Is my guess. But
now I do want to say one thing to
Isle of Burke. I'm with Slimer on that. I
love Isle of Burke. I think it's great.
Now, I do want to say Lucas sent a super chat to my channel, and he actually, I didn't know this. This is actually some pretty interesting information in regards to Nintendo. And we're just talking about how the Nintendo brand is like rock solid and hot and has been for generations. But he's saying here some of the anime and game haters don't realize that Nintendo products and foods in Epic Universe revenue surpassed Wizarding products this year.
100%. Yeah,
I can see that. Yeah, Nintendo is. I've had this argument on my channel with people. They were like, "Oh, Nintendo." I'm like, "You don't understand how big Nintendo is. Like, Nintendo is insanely. I mean, look, the Nintendo Switch 2 came out. People were pissed off about the pricing of that. I think at this point, it's the best-selling console in that time frame ever. So, I mean, it has its fan base. It appeals to a broad audience, kids, people our age. Like, it is. And it has staying power. Like Wizarding World, I do wonder. I think a lot of it could depend on how this new show goes, but you do wonder about the longevity of it in say 20 years or so. Maybe it ages out a little bit as those movies get older.
I want to bring something up about that, but real quick, Xvoot actually confirmed it not land best new theme.
Oh, okay. Sorry, I didn't have the article in front of me. I blame my memory, but okay.
But as far as with Harry Potter, it's kind of like a double-edged sword. It can actually either help the franchise by keep it relevant, or it actually can hurt it with the new series. Because if the new series ends up dominating of what the films were, then everything that they put into these parks of the films
Right.
kind of gets put to the wayside a little bit.
It seems outdated. That's a good
I
point.
agree. I think the new show is a risk. I don't know really why they feel the need to have to do it.
Money.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the goal. Obviously, they want to make money. But have you seen how much it's going to cost them, though?
Right. Well, and why are you retelling the original story? Like, I think Wizarding World needs to branch beyond that storyline. I mean, you know what I'm saying? And they tried to do that, to be fair, with Fantastic Beasts, and it flopped. But I mean, I don't know. Retelling the old story is a huge risk. You're inevitably going to piss off people.
And that's very true, because at the time when all the films were coming out, they were still interwoven with the releases of the books. So as the films were coming out, books 5, book 6, book 7 was still not even published yet.
Right.
The whole Pottermania was still at a craze where people were reading the books, going to see the movies, and they're like, okay, what's going to come next? We need to get book 6. We need to get book 7. Right. Everyone knows how the outcome is going to end. Now, depending on how much they incorporate in the series, because there was a lot cut out of the films, you know, from the books, because you could only fit so much in a film. With a series, you could add more. But I don't know, like, how much of interest people are going to be with, of basically a retelling of the story with the same characters but different actors portraying them.
Well, this is like them doing a Lord of the Rings show 20 years after the hype died down of Return of the King. It's the same. You're making the same pitfalls.
Yeah. I feel like it's Warner Brothers trying to make money as much as they can, and they're just like,
this ain't it. I mean, I think they should expand the universe, not retell the same thing over and over again. I think it's a huge. I mean, look, I'm not going to say definitively it's going to be a flop, but it has potential to be a flop. And then I think they were even saying, like, they want the show to go for like 10 years or something.
Yeah,
crazy.
10 years. God. Well, I think the overall cost, they're looking at, I think it was $1 billion a season. Is the cost if that's what's going to be? And I'm just like, I don't see any way that you're going to get $1 billion worth of subscribers. And now, if Warner Brothers gets bought, which the rumors out there that, you know, Comcast will look at them, Paramount's looking at them. But I just do not see how $1 billion a season of a show is remotely going to be profitable.
No. That's a recipe for disaster.
To hit $1 billion.
Do what?
What are they spending it on to hit $1 billion?
That's the question. Because they're reusing a lot of sets. I don't really know. And then you have the whole issue of the cast with the kids. Are they going to be able to turn these seasons around quick enough? That's another thing. Because a lot of these streaming shows, they'll have a season and there's a year break between the second season. Like, are they going to be able to keep up that cadence?
I mean, unless it's paying for John Lithgow's Medicaid, but I mean,
I know.
Go ahead. Lithium's expensive in 2025.
You know, everything's expensive in 2025. That's true.
Absolutely.
Let's see. Okay, I think we're caught up on comments. Okay. So let's look at that. So, you guys, anything else you want to talk about Epic Expanse or anything of that nature? There's one.
Well, one thing I do want to say actually with Epic is, and I've said the same thing about California Adventure and just about any new park, in that the hardest part of these new parks is getting the new park built in the first place. So Epic isn't going to be a perfect park out the gate. It's not, you know, no park really is. But the hardest part for Epic was getting the infrastructure around the park built, the hotel, getting it all situated. Now that they have the park there and settled, they can go in there and start to plus it. But the first thing they should do, and I had Lucas on the channel a few days ago, we talked about this. It's a very hot park. They really need to address that. I think first and foremost, that's a quick, easy fix kind of thing, to add some more awnings, some more trees. I think that's something they should really go in there. But yeah, now that the park's built, you can go in there and plus the heck out of it. And you know,
which we can talk about this. We talked about in the pre-show. I did a video on this of some people. I actually did a video because I had people leaving me comments asking me I was going to talk about it. Was that there are some, mostly you're seeing it on Travel Advisor. Basically, Epic Universe right now is standing at like 2.2 stars out of 5. Google reviews, you're looking at 3.9. I will say, if you look at the total reviews, I think there's like 200 and some odd reviews on Travel Advisor. Whereas if you look at Magic Kingdom, Islands of Adventure, they all have like 75,000 plus reviews.
Do you think a lot of that too could be based off of the hype that people were giving this park even before
Yes.
before it even opened.
I think that's a major thing. I think there's two things driving it. I think first off, you're just going to have issues with a new park opening. Everybody that knows theme parks knows that, but Mark Woodbury did allude to, you have a whole new audience of people coming in to Epic, you know, Nintendo fans, whatever that is, they're maybe not theme park people. And then you come to a new park not understanding, oh, there's going to be issues here. And I read through a lot of the reviews, and some people were saying that it was being review bombed. I don't like to say review bombing because I think studios have been using that as an excuse when they have a bad movie to be like, oh, we're being review bombed. It's a great movie. Don't listen to these people. I think they're legitimate. I think people just have unrealistic expectations, but also Universal's priced it along with Magic Kingdom. So they're like the analogy before about the Ford Focus and you could get a Mercedes. They're pricing it at a certain level of experience, knowing that some days may not meet that level. And then some people are just very frustrated. I don't think it's anything unexpected, but it's also the first theme park to open in the social media era. You have instantaneous feedback you can get. People are hypercritical. Sure. I would love to see what Hollywood Studios or Disneyland or a lot of these other parks, what their reviews would have been like when they opened. You know,
Disneyland would have been destroyed because they had wet cement and women getting stuck. So that's a great point. But here's the other thing too, is we talk a lot about it where like there is a nerd and normie divide.
Absolutely.
Right. So the nerds were all on board with Epic Universe. Like in the years and lead up to Epic Universe, the nerds were on board. Universal had the nerds. But the normies now are going to this park. So maybe the normies are seeing it from a little bit of a different perspective than like, say, people like us, right? So that's a fair point too. So there's a lot going on here, and I agree with you actually. I mean, I don't put a lot of stock into this stuff with like Yelp or like, Rotten Tomatoes and stuff, because I do think there is a lot of agenda stuff that people go in there and they're like, play with the numbers. But you're right, though, in that a lot of companies also have gone too far with it, where they dismiss everything and they're just like, you know what, we're not going to listen to any of the criticisms because it's all review bombing, which isn't true either. You know what I'm saying? Right. So it exists in there, but I think some companies have taken it to an extreme to kind of like dodge accountability.
Well, I'm not saying there's not any review bombing. I'm sure there is, but there's also positive review bombing too. You have people leaving positive reviews just because they're rooting for something because of the same thing. Maybe it's ideological, whatever it is. They want something to succeed. And I agree. I don't give it a lot of credence. I mean, this park is going to be fine in 5-10 years. You're going to look at this park. It's going to be one of the best theme parks out there. And you're going to remember when it opened and all these issues. And I think, and George alluded to it, in many ways, the expectations for this park were almost, you weren't going to be able to match it once reality got there. I mean, some people were touting it as a Disney killer, and it's going to be, and I love the park. It has its faults, and Mark Woodbury alluded to the fact that they're going to be adding things to the park. But when you hype something up to that degree, ultimately, once reality hits, many times you're going to be left disappointed.
Lest you forget, you don't even have to go back to Disneyland to show that that a lot of these theme parks have tons of issues once they open, not just for the first month or so, but for the first year, probably even for the first 2 years. Universal Studios Florida was a total disaster.
Oh, dude.
Jaws didn't open the opening year. King Kong was breaking down all the time. You didn't have rides like Back to the Future holding it up and propping up this, the theme park. There was a lot of problems with that park. I was there first year. You know who was at Universal Studios the first year? Freaking nobody, dude. It was a ghost town. All right. So, and Animal Kingdom, same thing. I mean, like you can go back. People forget though. People have very short memories. They want to remember what they want to remember. But at the same time, to OG's point, like you can't tell a normie that just spent $4,000 on a vacation to go to Epic Universe and be like, well, you see, it's a new park and they got to work out their bugs. Like they're like, I don't give a I spent $4,000 to come down here on the sole fact that this was sold as the best thing since sliced bread. So, I mean, it's a double-edged sword. It is what it is. I mean, there's really nothing that honestly anybody can do about it, to be honest with you. It honestly just has to go, do its course. And in a year or two, it's going to be ready for prime time.
And honestly, I really feel like too, there's not really one park that could be really significant over the other in a sense, because each person has their own preference of what they see as an experience is a great theme park. Where, one of us, OG, loves Animal Kingdom. You know,
Yeah.
he wasn't even through the turnstiles and he was sold. You know,
Dude, that park's amazing. Animal Kingdom was the goat. No pun intended, the goat. But
That's funny. I don't care for Animal Kingdom.
Okay,
I never have.
okay, but
Yeah.
that's my point.
Yeah.
That's my point. Now, Jared, now you could look at Animal Kingdom and say, I could only go there once a year and I'm fine with it. I'm good with it. But so that's why I think when people do put stuff out there like on Yelp or Rotten Tomatoes or whatever, and they say, okay, well, we're labeling this as a much better park than this park, and this is, I feel like it's one's own opinion depending on, you know, if someone is a thrill, you know, ride type of person or someone that just wants to, you know, walk around and see the scenery, you know, vibes over rides. You know, I think there's something for everyone within each individual park. So I think
well, and that's a great
people, you know.
Yeah, and that's a great point, George. I was before you got here, I was actually telling these gentlemen in the audience how, like, I don't care about Halloween. I don't watch horror movies, but I went to HHN and I fell in love with it. So that's the power of experiencing stuff in person, because you just never know. And even Animal Kingdom, I didn't expect to love that park like I did. I've seen videos, you know, and pictures for years. And when I went there, though, it was like, what the heck is this place? This is crazy in person. You know what I'm saying?
Speaking of HHN, bro, we got to get in touch with Wizard. He was messaging me today because he said all the express for HHN for the whole month of September is gone.
That's crazy.
Oh, that's crazy. That's wild.
That's crazy.
Well, and the Terrifier maze was like 3 hours long when I went there. And the Jason Universe one is actually doing a lot better. That's kind of been like the sleeper hit.
Yeah.
But I've done most of the mazes. I did Wyatt, I did Fallout, Monstrous 3, and then there was another one, Scarecrow, and then we did the Terror Tram.
Well, and I know Mondo posted, I think, like a photo from last year, and it was like 15 minutes, 20 minutes for all the hosses, and someone said, like, no one knew how good we had it last year, you know, compared to this year, where it's like Terrifier and Five Nights at Freddy's has like a 300-minute wait.
Oh yeah. And I tell you, the star of the show at HHN, Tommy Toon and I went to the Chucky bar and got the playtime drink, and that thing hits hard. I mean, that thing is really, really hard, but it's amazing. It's kind of a Spanish kind of drink with the tahini around the rim and everything. Ooh, so good, really, really good. 10 out of 10.
Was that her name?
Was
that her name?
Chris James said, did Animal Kingdom have a lot of the same issues as Epic when it first opened?
Yeah. So I actually,
they didn't have much stuff to do.
Well, I ChatGPT'd it here, and apparently they had activist protests. Groups like PETA were actually protesting outside of the park. They had animal deaths due to early weeks due to transport stress, illness. The fact they had limited attractions, which they currently still have limited attractions.
They'd never solve that problem.
Yeah. What is this? Long distances. So the park was and still is the largest Disney park in terms of land area. Guests complain about the long walks and sparse shade in the Florida heat. Okay. And heated environment, that's, okay. So perceptual problems that it's just a zoo. And the BC
You know what's
King,
funny about that? I've made that argument forever. It's a zoo. And it's like, it's not a zoo. My wife did they did one of the trail things she did. And they even said they are technically a zoo. They are classified as a zoo officially. So it's a freaking zoo. And I hate zoo. I don't hate animals. I loathe zoos. I don't give a damn to watch a gorilla, or a lion. They're majestic. They're great. And they're like, here's a lion. He's just laying down. I don't care. I could care less what they do.
Jared, I'm sorry. If I had to deal with it for 10 years, you can handle it for a day.
Oh, dang, George. That's wild. That's wild. That is wild. Robert Colton here says that Animal Kingdom is the most beautiful of all the 4 parks. Got to give it that. Yeah, and Robert, I admittedly am a vibes guy. Like, when I go to theme parks, I love the vibes. And Animal Kingdom is just, like, seriously all vibes. I mean, it barely has any rides. So it's right up my alley,
My problem is I don't really want to go to Africa in general. So I don't really, you know what I mean? Like, it's just not a thing. Like, I get it. Some people love it, and it's just one of those parks like, oh, go. I love Pandora, but as a whole, like, I think it's a half-day park.
The one thing that I do appreciate with Animal Kingdom is, like, when you do go into Africa or Asia, for a brief moment, you actually don't feel like you're in a Florida theme park.
True. The theming's great. Yeah.
But kind of tying it into Epic, like how they're saying like they're doing major investment. You know, they're going to add. I think I came in right when you were saying like something like something every year or every other year.
The cadence that they've said previously, and Woodbury was alluding to, they would like for the next decade having something open new every year.
Okay. So see, and that's where the frustration part comes with Animal Kingdom, because
oh yeah,
the fact that the park opened with nothing, and here we are, like 27 years later, and we still have almost the same equivalence
I know.
to the fact of where they never really expanded it, to be honest with you. If you really think of it, they took Camp Mini Mickey, that was supposed to be Beastly Kingdom, and turned it into Pandora. Now you're taking Dino Land and turning it into Tropical Americas, which thank God it needs it. I love the fact. But I mean, if you really look at the park as a whole, that it never actually got a major expansion.
No,
well, that's a great point. And if I had one major critique about Animal Kingdom, is that the layout, it's really confusing. If you're a first timer, like I never really got my bearings.
It's not a traditional park layout by any means. It's also incredibly hot because it's like a bowl. And
Isn't
then
it?
just sit in the heat. It is the hottest park. When it's 90 degrees, it'll feel like it's 102.
You know, outside of Nepal, I think it's really interesting how the Disney Imagineers simulated the heat and the humidity in all of these different countries. How did they do that?
It's amazing. I don't know.
It's amazing.
Yeah. Joe Rohde was like, we have to make it feel like you're sweltering in the middle of nowhere. And you're like, all right, Joe, fine. We'll make it hotter. And he's like, that's what I want my Florida park is to be hotter. Well, I will say this, and people may disagree with me. I think, and I don't know what would compete with it. I actually think you look at Epic Universe, it is the best brand new theme park that has ever opened in terms of the amount of attractions you have, the level of theming. It's going to have its issues, of course, as any park is. But when you look at, again, you look at Hollywood Studios when it opened, you get Universal when it opened, like Animal Kingdom, the fact that it is operating as well as it is and has as many things to do, that it does have its issues needs to work out. I would like to know what park has opened better.
I was just going to ask you, how many attractions opened with Magic Kingdom on opening day?
I don't know. I didn't go to opening of Magic Kingdom.
ChatGPT.
Well, you look that up though. But I've been to the Universal opening. I've been to Islands of Adventure opening year, Animal Kingdom, and of course Epic Universe went opening year. And out of all the parks that I think had the best opening so far, I would say the Islands of Adventure. I mean, Islands of Adventure had a pretty good opening year. They had a lot of attractions.
Debuted with 23 attractions. So Magic Kingdom may end up beating out.
Yeah.
14 of those were rides. So 14 rides and then 23 overall attractions.
Now, I don't know how many rides Disney Sea opened with, but that was a pretty successful opening. That really hit the ground running, that park. I mean, I know it's international, though. But
yeah, I don't know a lot of it. I mean, like I said, it's possible. I think it's one of at least the best. I think it's in the conversation, especially when you talk about like Magic Kingdom, that 1971, you know, obviously not had the tech, but like the level of these rides of some of these in the immersion, I do think obviously it has great bones, but you know, people nitpicking at them. But if you understand this stuff, you're like, a new park's going to have these issues. But I think a lot of the reviews are people that are maybe just general travel, like especially Travel Advisor. I feel like that's kind of an uppity group of people that are used to like going to all-inclusive resorts, and they're just like, you know, they just feel like they're just going to be more nitpicky. It's kind of like the Yelp food reviewers.
But that's very telling, though, with Tokyo Disney Sea, because to my knowledge, they never really did a significant growth up until Fantasy Springs. I mean, they added things like here or there, but I think it's interesting of how that kind of maintained the title of like one of the best theme parks in the world up until like before they even added Fantasy Springs.
Well, yeah, no, you're right. Well, because they took attractions that had really no theming here in the States, like Soarin', which was like a giant warehouse basically, and turned it into a gorgeous experience, you know. And even the Tower of Terror, they literally have the same Tower of Terror that we had out here in California, and they made it breathtaking. The detail on their Tower of Terror is absolutely insane. Lucas actually sent another super chat. Thank you so much, Lucas. But he's saying he wants us to talk about the possibility of Joe Rohde working on a Zootopia land. Like, do you think that would ever happen, or what do you think? I know he doesn't want that franchise in Animal Kingdom.
I don't know if he would be the right person for for that.
Yeah.
I feel like honestly he was kind of against Zootopia going into the park.
I think he would have been, yeah.
But
I think he still works for Virgin, doesn't he? I don't think.
Oh no, he's back at Disney.
I thought he was just advising. I thought he still worked.
Yeah, a consultant.
Right,
yeah.
but I think he technically still employed by Virgin.
Pull up his LinkedIn. But Remy D, I do agree. Now that I think about it, and I said it a moment ago, I think Islands still had a better opening than Epic Universe.
But here's the issue with looking back at that. And I'm not saying it didn't, but you also didn't have Twitter X. You didn't have YouTube. You didn't have this like magnifying glass where if something happened to you, you went back and told your friends and family. It's hard to know. That's the thing, I think, is this park opening during this period, every single thing. I mean, you have websites dedicated to, there's a paint job messed up on the corner of this queue. Like, you have so many things people are looking at now versus then. That would be interesting to be able to go back and see. It's very possible it could have, but
I'm just talking about my own personal experience because I've been to the opening to both. Yeah, but just based off my own personal experience, I don't remember any attractions being down, to be honest with you. And they had, go ahead.
Oh no, finish.
Yeah, I just don't remember any attractions being down, and there was a lot more to do.
But I think too, when IOA originally opened, I can definitely see how that could have been a top contender because in that moment, in the late 90s going into the early, into the millennium, I mean, everything was kind of like a hot take, and now it's very dated, and I think that's where, a lot of it is just left. You look at Toon Lagoon, I mean, all those comic strips, kids today, they don't know Hagar, they don't know Brunhilde, they don't know Betty Boop, and that's sad in a way. Like, I mean, even kids don't even know Betty Boop or Popeye or Dudley Do-Right and everything. But it's like, but yet at the same time, I mean, Dudley Do-Right Tripsaw Falls as an attraction itself won like so many awards, even over Splash Mountain.
It's true, and it's a really good water ride. And the reason they haven't closed it down yet is because during the summers, those rides average anywhere from 45 to 60-minute waits, which is absolutely insane. And it's only because they are water rides and there's nowhere to cool down except for those water rides, which are the only ones in the park. But but you
can get rid of the theme and still keep the water ride.
I think that would be a good idea to do that.
Yeah, no, of course.
I looked up Joe Rohde on LinkedIn. By the way, LinkedIn search sucks. You get more results if you look on Google for people's LinkedIn profiles than going on LinkedIn and looking. But it just says it says president, senior vice president of creative. So he doesn't even have Virgin list on, so I guess maybe he is back.
I will say this to Lucas's question. I don't know about Joe Rohde like heading up with Zootopia, but I will say that I think if Jared Bush is on board, now that he is like the head of Disney Animation, I mean, it definitely seems like right now he's trying to turn the tables back a little bit. There's talks of, doing a lot of like 2D animation for the studio and what have you. Seems like he's involved with WDI. I feel like that if he is on board, sort of like a Kevin Feige, like when Kevin Feige gets like involved with the parks and stuff, I feel like if it's done well, you could possibly do something a little bit more elevated than what's in Shanghai, because with Zootopia 2 coming out, I mean that's going to do gangbusters, in the box office for sure. But
I was surprised to learn the first Zootopia made $1 billion. I was like, really?
Isn't that
wild? That was a movie, like, it's okay. It wasn't for me. I know it has I will say this, it has a very strange adjacent group to it, if you guys know what I'm alluding to.
Oh, yeah. Like
a certain community is a big fan of those movies, which I find, I'm like, get away from me. Whatever that, you do your thing, but just keep it the hell away from me and my kids. If you get my drift. And listen, the Council of Jareds, I like when other Jareds are succeeding, so I like to, and I think he spells it correctly. I think it's Jared, if I remember correctly.
I like that. I like that there's a Council of Jareds. That's
well, it's
awesome.
a joke because in our private group, there's a longtime listener. His name's also Jared. He's a great dude. He actually used to be Prince Charming. He was friends with Prince Charming in Disneyland. And his son is now friends with Captain America in Disneyland. And all his kids are named Jared. So we kind of came with this Council of Jareds. And mega. I was like, the Council of Jareds are mega chads. I'm like, I'm okay with that. But
Mega chat.
Mega Chad.
I'm like, I'm good with that. Yeah, but
Love it.
shout out to the other Jared. He's a good dude. Let's see here. Let's bring up. Well, George, did you see the rivers of America will refuse to drain?
Yeah, wasn't it from all the rain that just keeps
No,
on?
yeah, no, actually, George, it
Didn't
wasn't.
see this?
No, that was fake news, as they say. Here's the culprit. Slimer was able to figure this out. It was all the Disney adults that were pouring water out of their popcorn buckets.
Oh my god!
And this is totally not AI. Totally
Not at all. It's completely a real picture.
Real picture.
Yeah.
It makes
Yeah.
me wonder, like, they had to get up at like the ass crack of dawn just to like get it to that point.
Oh yeah.
And as it turns out, the popcorn buckets are actually magical. So
Yeah. That's a never-ending stream of water that just keeps.
And I absolutely love the angle of like where the water is to the castle. Like
I know.
yeah.
But you can actually see Tom Sawyer Island is right here, but like what they're standing on, I'm like, what would that even like? AI is funny like that. They get some elements right, but you're just like, what is that? It's just like a random walkway with a fence, kind of. It's
Well, and AI has a really tough time with like words. Like you
Yes.
ever try to do like anything with words, it like will misspell it like crazy.
Oh yeah.
And actually, kind of on this subject, for the delaying that they are having, like due to all the rain and everything of the space that they're making the cars area itself, I'm curious because of even what Epic is going through right now, because a lot of their stuff is outdoors. With I'm very curious to see how operations go with that area, because I mean, Cars Land works out here because it's California, but you're going to put, the Cars area in Florida. I'm very curious to see how it operates once it's completed.
Jared, can you pull up Jay Brad's last comment? Jay Brad's hilarious.
He said, "It's okay if kids don't know who old characters are. All it takes is a parent to lean over and say, they're characters from a long time ago. What do you think kids are going to do? Kill them? Minecraft themselves?"
It's ridiculous.
Well, true. Oh, man. I had a story. What was the other thing we were going to talk about, OG? I'm forgetting. I had to get rid of my tabs because my computer couldn't keep
Well,
up.
we were going to talk about AI Walt coming to Florida.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
Mhm.
I'll
not
bring
AI Walt. I'm sorry. AA Walt.
AI
It
Walt. I'm like,
It is going to be. Listen,
Right,
AI Walt is
I was
coming.
going to say, how long have I been gone?
Yeah, you're gone a while, George. Listen, he became sentient. He fired a bunch of people. He's kind of gone on a rampage, but yeah, he arm wrestled Bob Iger, took his job over. It was pretty cool.
George
Yeah.
came
Crazy.
back to Biff Tannen's 2025.
What was that show where they went on a plane and they come back in a different dimension? George comes back here and it says it's just slightly different. Everything's like, wait a minute, this seems odd.
Walt Disney was just walking through the Pirates of the Caribbean, just knocking boats over, Just like,
I want to see Walt AI just unleashed and just watch him walk around with like scotch and a cigarette and just kicking stuff over. Like, what is this crap? And just going around and just be like, oh man. I would
Comes out of Bob Gurr comes out of nowhere. He's like, that's exactly how I remembered him.
like, oh,
So like everybody's dismay, like Walt's really an asshole.
You're like, what do you think he built all this by being a nice guy? No, he's going in here cracking skulls on this stuff. Like he goes to D23 and just has an announcement. He's like, doesn't reveal anything. He gets like, and we're like, where's the announcement? He just starts just lashing out at all the people. Go have kids and shut your mouth. And I'm like, oh my gosh, Walt's lost it. Yeah. Speaking of AI Walt, which he will be AI eventually. Part of Destination D23, they didn't have a lot of announcements, and we've all talked about it in previous streams and in all our channels, I'm sure, but we've never gotten together, had an actual discussion about this together. But the biggest one I think would be that they did announce that, much like Disneyland with the animatronic Walt, that they're going to bring that to the Carousel of Progress in the Magic Kingdom. They didn't give a timeline. They didn't give a really timeline on anything. They kind of gave a little bit of a sneak peek at Villains Land, and they just said construction is on the horizon, but nothing else. They went on a field trip, showed you some pictures of their trip, basically. But I am curious what you guys think. Now, what is your guys' opinion on the Walt animatronic? You guys have seen it. You guys out in Disneyland. Do you like it better after seeing it in person? Or are you kind of
100%, Jared.
Okay.
The videos don't do like the HHN and the Animal Kingdom stuff. Like seeing it in person was way different, and I like the documentary that's attached to it. I thought it was a really cool show. Is the animatronic perfect? It's not, but I'm kind of forgiving on that just because I know as technology improves, so will that animatronic. They're always going to revisit that animatronic as they have better technology. I'm not super worried about that. But it's a great show. I think you guys will be really happy. I know you're going to get a different one, obviously, but I think you'll be happy with it. It was better in person.
Just real quick, Remy, it's at the beginning of the show. They said it's going to be like the first scene before the whole thing starts.
And they were even in talks that there's a possibility where he may be shown at the end. They didn't confirm that. They said the possibility he may be shown in the beginning and at the end where they add an additional scene. Because right now he's going to replace the giant gear, where the so they may add an extra scene after the family sequence. But as far as the Walt out here, is it perfect? No. Is it much better than what I thought it was based off of the photos and the videos that were being put out? Absolutely. And I think I've seen it now like 11 times, and I think with each time that I see it, the animatronic manifests itself into Walt more.
Why so few times, George?
Yeah, what's your deal?
You couldn't have seen it 12 times? Are you even a Disney fan, bro?
Even a baker's dozen or something. Are you going to Belize or something on trips, or just getting
I was in Cabo.
Oh, I went to Cabo. Oh, sorry, George. Okay, sorry.
You see one of those TripAdvisor folks, Jared?
This wasn't as good as Cabo, I'll tell you that much.
I'm
torn on Walt. We've talked about this before. I love the idea of more Walt in the parks. I've been contingent on time. I haven't seen it in person, so I can only look at the pictures. In my mind, I always think it needs to look as much like Walt as you can do, and you don't want those freeze ups that have happened, because every time that happens, that's kind of awkward. I've often said like a hologram might work better because you take actual footage and things like that. So I'll give my final judgment if I'm able to see it myself, and probably either Disneyland or here. But potentially, I think I like it because it means Carousel Progress isn't going to go away. So I like that. I do wonder about, there is not much queue for that attraction, and I feel like there's going to be a lot more demand for this once this comes online. And I wonder how they're going to handle that.
How many rotators do they have, like as far as the theater?
I think there's 4. I think every 5 minutes I believe is when you kind of get more people to go in, but you basically just have like a little white, and then you have a ramp. Like it may be 20 yards maybe.
They're gonna do a zigzag with umbrellas like they do with Lightyear,
or they're gonna do they're just gonna do queues.
George, I feel like we're having deja vu though, right? Because we talked about this for the Disneyland version before, and it kind of worked itself out. I think that the Walt thing is sort of like a nerd thing, and I think there's demand for it, but I don't think at least out here in Disneyland, it hasn't been a logistical problem like I thought it was.
I'd say opening weekend. I think opening weekend, like we're not here, that's where you're going to get like the crazy line and everything. But literally, after it opened, they dropped the virtual queue after 2 days.
Okay. Yeah. I don't think you're going to have everybody that's just a normie that, they may go check it out. But I agree. I think the early part, I'm just curious. You've got people moving right there. You've got,
and I think
Lightyear, you got a lot of stuff around it.
It's more, I think it would be more of a demand at Disneyland really than Walt Disney World, because you get a lot of international travelers that constantly go in and out, where I feel like with Disneyland, you get a lot of the regulars that go weekly, daily, hourly.
Right. Yeah.
You wouldn't know anything about that, huh, George?
No, I would absolutely.
George like, I never fell asleep in the park and didn't leave, and it never caught me. I didn't. J. Brad said, are they using the same Trump animatronic they did the last time he was president? Because that one really really didn't look like him that much. I'm pretty sure with that one they thought a certain other candidate was going to win, and they're like, "Oh crap!" Just because that one they've changed it like what 3 times now.
Yeah, he's on his
It looks much
variant.
better now, but yeah, the first one you were like, "What the? That looks odd."
Now it does make me wonder too. All the backlash that the Walt animatronic's been, that they had like when it first premiered. It really makes you wonder, like, how big of a hysteria that really was. Because if it really was that bad, would Disney really put themselves through the ringer again to say, "Hey, here comes another Walt animatronic,"
right?
And then here comes
I actually think Disney would, because they kind of tend to just want to do what they want to do. Like, look at Star Wars. Like, they just kind of keep going sometimes.
Okay, let me rephrase that. Yeah, I agree with you. I don't think like Disney would hinder the fact of their decision based off of the public. I think it's more so the decision to make the announcement so soon.
I do feel like it was interesting with Destination, because I didn't really think it kind of went how I figured. I was surprised they announced this, but I think they were just kind of they probably already planned to do this, and they were just like, throw this into Destination.
Do you think these were really announcements that were really planned for actual last year's D23? And they just kind of said, you know what, we're going to need something for next year.
So here's I don't know if you'd call this a conspiracy theory, but if the reports are true, which I guess we'll find out maybe the next earnings call, if the attendance was as low at Disney World as some places have said, like touring planes and other ones, they're not just, trying to rage bait, but people that actually have data on this. If they did, which I'd always contended, shows and parades did move the needle on attendance, summer was down, I think they may have realized we need things outside of shows and parades, which is why you saw Launch Bay that's becoming the animation experience. Things like this, Buzz Lightyear change. Like, I think they may have figured out we need to add some stuff to actually have attractions to advertise to bring people in.
Well, a good friend of ours, Drew the Disney Dude, posted online. He literally went on Seven Dwarfs Mine Train 2 times in a row while the fireworks were going off.
Yeah. My wife went, she's been twice this summer, and she was like, the summers have been a less busy season since COVID, which has been kind of interesting. Like, we were there in the 4th of July 3 years ago, and it was shockingly not busy. And I think you're seeing a lot less travel in the summer in general. But she was saying how they went and, like, she was saying she talked to somebody, they had gotten lightning lanes and they got a refund because you just didn't need it. Like, it just has not been.
That was me with Epic. I got it was almost a $700 refund because literally it was the express for Epic. And
you didn't need it opening day. Yeah, that weekend was everything was like 5 minutes. It was rare to see like 10.
This going back to Walt Disney animatronic, this Walt Disney animatronic is going to be a lot closer to the audience compared to the Disneyland attraction, because you've ridden the Carousel Progress over here.
Yep.
Yeah, man, did it? It's a lot closer to the front. That curtain, doesn't matter where you're sitting, you're probably within 20, 30 feet away from it. So yeah, this Walt's going to have to look better. And if they don't make it look better, Joe Biden will still be the most lifeless animatronic in the park. So it's a win-win either way. So.
Sleepy Joe. But here's the funny thing, that when you do sit close to the Walt animatronic, that's where he does look his best.
Oh, well, there you go.
Is it just the fact that like the movements and the voice like kind of adds to it, and not looking at the face
the movement,
much?
You see a lot of the articulate, like the facial expressions and everything. You do see the twinkle in his eye.
Yeah.
Again, is it perfect? No. Can they definitely improve on it? Absolutely. But I don't think it is as bad as what a lot of people were.
No.
Yeah.
Well, and a lot of it was unfair, I think, because there was a lot of people were zooming in on it, and you don't see it like that in the show. Like, a lot of people it was so close to his face in some of these pictures on social media. You're not experiencing the thing like that though. So it's not, you know what I'm saying? So
yeah. Well, I think there was also you had the whole thing with his granddaughter that was claiming that, he didn't ever want to be an animatronic. Yeah, you had some stuff around it. But yeah, I mean, like I said, and Jay Pratt said, but Jared, toddlers don't know who Walt even is. Is he even relevant anymore? I think Walt is one of those characters we talked about before. I think he's the parks wouldn't exist if it wasn't for him. So I love the fact of having more Walt representation of what he was able to do. And I think it's a good thing for kids to learn about, dreaming and accomplishing things and having vision and determination. So, the sense of certain IPs don't work anymore, but I think Walt, I wouldn't consider him an IP, but I've always wondered as time goes on how much Walt is in the parks, but I do like to see whether or not this animatronic, what it ends up looking like. I love the idea, at least, of having more Walt being in, especially the parks. I do like that.
I love the fact that you said that too, Jared, because I understand the grandkids said that he didn't want to be an animatronic, but I'm sure he probably wouldn't have wanted the partner statue either, right?
Probably.
But here's the thing. I mean, at the end of the day, when Walt wanted to show respect and honor his hero, Abe Lincoln, he did just this. He made him an animatronic. You know what I'm saying? So we are paying homage to Walt like he did to his hero Abe Lincoln. So I see nothing wrong with that. So I think we're still doing it the right way. In my opinion.
Devil's advocate to that, and I'm not saying I disagree with you. Nobody ever saw or heard Abe Lincoln talk. So you were bringing a historical figure to life to kind of be like, what would it have been like to, Abe talking? We have tons of footage of Walt. And I guess that would be my question of how much, and like I said, I haven't seen it, so I'm just asking from an outsider's perspective.
Yeah.
How much are you gaining from, instead of, you have the footage of him talking and the audio of him talking, how much does an animatronic bring to it? It could bring a lot to it. I'm just saying that I think devil's advocate would just be, it's a little bit different because we do have so much of footage of Walt and him talking.
For me, it was very entertaining. I feel like that it's something, to pay tribute to him, to honor him. Was it something that gave me like the goosebumps, like to see like, oh my gosh, like this is what it would feel like to have Walt physically, present. It didn't give off that feeling. I wanted it to, but at the same time, I don't know if an audio animatronic would ever really compare that to the real human being. But I will say too, I definitely want to see more Walt representation in the parks in many different formats. When it comes to the audio animatronics, I'm good with him at Disneyland, and I'm good with him here at the Carousel of Progress. Maybe if they wanted to do something with Epcot, then I'm good.
Well, I think if Epcot would get back to its educational roots, you could kind of have something that is, Walt. You could have Walt. Well, I would say like a motivational speaker, but you could do something educational wise for kids and things like that. I would agree with that. Magical Mouser said, "I hope they spend extra millions on a better sculptor for Mr. Walt's new face, because nobody wants to say Mike Lindell, the Pillow Guy, Walter Matthau animatronic."
That's funny. Now here's the thing. One of the big issues I have with Walt when Disney trots out the old audio or video of Walt talking about Epcot, it's a glaring reminder that they built a park that's nothing like what he wanted.
Oh, absolutely, dude. I've done long depth discussions years ago on the podcast about would Epcot have worked, because of I think for a time it would have, but what he wanted and what it is now is, I mean, I think if AI Walt comes back, he's going to be really pissed off about Epcot. He's going to be like, what the hell did you do? Like, it's just nothing like what he had planned for it, for sure.
Yeah. Now I'm very curious though, because George mentioned keeping it at Disney World and Disneyland, and I by and large I agree with that. I think that's the right move. But I'm curious if like some of these other parks, like for example Tokyo, which they're not owned by Disney, they're run by OLC. I wonder if they're going to do that, where they have a Walt animatronic or something. And I'm kind of curious, is there that same sort of nostalgia for Walt in Japan? I don't even know, but I'm kind of curious how that goes. I don't know. We'll see.
I wouldn't. Well, how's that go with those? Does they get to choose what they put in there, and then Disney kind of helps them do it? Is that kind of the setup with the one over there?
It's licensed out, so they literally have 100% say of like what goes in the park, and they basically write the check, and Disney builds it for them.
Okay. That's what I thought. By the way, did you see the Abu Dhabi park? The castle is going to like have water features. Like it's going to have some sort of water element to it.
That's going to be great.
Yeah. I'm telling you, when Disney doesn't have to worry about the money end of it, you're going to see magic really happen here. I'm telling you right now, this thing is going to be off the chain.
Well, Disney not to pay. I mean, you got Saudi oil money and Disney being like, you guys want to make a whatever? Like, sure. I think that's going to be their ultimate testing ground park. Because if I was Disney, every harebrained idea I ever had about, I wonder if this would work, that's a great place to try it.
Well, and I think with Abu Dhabi, if I'm not mistaken, as far as I know, there's no contractual agreement of how they have with OLC that, you know, they can't use this or they can't do that with a certain amount of time with this ride vehicle or this IP. I don't think they have that stipulation with Abu Dhabi. So basically, Abu Dhabi's kind of like the guinea pig in a sense, as you were saying. They could use a lot of the R&D and literally come up with as many ideas as they want, and it would be much cheaper to do a duplicate if they wanted to bring it here to the States.
So, George, what you're saying is they should build Westcott as a second gate in Abu Dhabi.
Just when you thought he was over it, he's not.
No,
I do love the idea of I just can't get past the idea of an AI Walt. I just keep imagining what he would do. Like if you just unplugged it, let it go for like a day. Like you had a way to put the off switch and just like if Bob Iger before he leaves is like, I wonder if Walt would be proud of me, and he just plugs it in and he's just like, unplug it real quick.
unplug it. I did get another super chat from Lucas. I want to share it with everybody. He said, as I said, no one knows what Walt thinks but himself, but he died. He might even like current Epcot and also removal of Rivers of America. Who knows? That's a great point he makes, though. I mean, we really don't know. We're basing as nerds, we all do this, myself included, where we're basing our opinions based on a guy who died in 1966. His politics, his views of the world would likely have changed. And you're right, Lucas. I mean, we don't know. We really don't know, because I don't hold the same opinion that I had even 10 years ago. I mean, you know what I'm saying? Everyone changes. So
technically we're a new person what do our cells replicate?
Every 7 years.
Every 7 years. So technically you're a new person every 7 years.
I must have jumped off that train.
George is like, I haven't changed at all. I'm exactly the same. Well, the only thing I would say, I mean, obviously, he's not wrong. We don't know what he would think. If I were to guess in terms of taking bets, he could have been on board with the Rivers of America going away. I don't know if he'd be on board with like googly-eyed cartoon cars going into Frontierland, but you know, who knows? Maybe he would. What do they say? The old from Batman, you either die the hero or live long enough to see yourself become the villain. You know, maybe it's that kind of a scenario, but
could be.
Yeah.
And Lucas says George hasn't changed since his first hair grew. So there you go, George. You came out of the womb with a hairy chest.
Well, you know, it's actually funny. I actually came out of the womb with a rat tail, with a ponytail.
Nice.
That makes sense. So it's like you grew out of hair, like the hair gave birth.
I just imagine the doctor gave birth and he went, nice. All right, he's got a rat. All right, okay. Get this kid a jean jacket real quick. And they're like, why? Put it on him. He deserves it.
Were you an Italian Jedi? You came out with the little Anakin brain.
Gosh, I remember rat tails. Yeah, there was like one kid that had one forever. I was always like, why do you have it? And he's like, it's cool. And I'm like, that seems like, I always felt like it would just get caught on stuff. Like, I know with me it would have. I would have ripped that thing off. I would have done something dumb, and out goes the rat tail. But I don't know. You guys have anything else you want to talk about? Because all the topics we had discussed, I think we hit them all. Did I miss one, OG?
No, not that I know of. I know we wanted to hit upon the Walt animatronic. We did a lot of Universal. I think that's pretty much it, to be honest.
What was the first thing we talked about? What was my brain start? What's the first thing we talked about?
Bidets.
Oh, we did talk about bidets. I was gonna say we could bring theme park conductor in here and just torment him for a little bit.
Oh, we can go nuts.
It's
How were the bidets in Cabo, George?
Did they have them?
I was very disappointed. There was not one bidet there.
Gosh, what kind of resort was it?
Sounds like you had a bad bidet.
I did.
I'm getting deja vu of this live stream all over again.
Oh,
my favorite part was George and conductor trying to do their outros, And
oh, dude, I couldn't catch my breath.
like I thought George was gonna stop for a bit. He just kept going and trying. I'm like, oh man, that killed me. I think I rewatched that twice before I went to bed. I was just like, it was
well, the genius of it all was that Conductor works at a Costco.
Yeah,
and we incorporated the Kirkland bidets into the whole thing. I think it was just beautiful.
He called me the next day and he's like, I just want you to know at work, he had a thing of bidets actually come in and he had to deal with it the next day. And I'm like, that's pretty funny, actually.
That is pretty funny.
And Robert said, I haven't ordered my bidet yet, hoping for a Black Friday special at Costco. That's the time to get your bidets, especially in bulk. Wait till Black Friday.
Hey, Jared, when you guys come down here, you got to hit Conductor up. He's a fun dude in person.
Oh yeah. When I get out there, I'm going to get everybody together and then I'm going to see how tall Conductor is. I feel like I might be able to, I'm 6'3". What is he? 6'4"?
6'4". Yeah.
We'll see.
Tall dude.
We'll see. You guys can arm wrestle each other.
Little known fact, I've kind of gotten into arm wrestling. My buddy bought an arm wrestling table. It's in his garage. We go over there like once a week and do it.
Do you chalk your hand up?
Oh yeah, chalk it up, chalk the hand up. We have the you tie the hands where you can't get out of it. Yeah, it's fun.
Hey, Jared, just don't let AI Walt know.
Dude, he's gonna if AI Walt gets in there, I'm done. Like, yeah.
You're done, dude. You're cooked, bro.
Dude, arm wrestling is a sport. There's a dude, this is completely off topic. Devin Larratt, you should look him up. He's like he's a Canadian dude, but he's like been the best arm wrestler for like 20 years. But he's like in his 50s. You can arm wrestle till you're like 60. Like these guys will do it like they be dominant. The guy that Over the Top with Stallone, that movie is based off of a real life guy that still arm wrestles to this day.
That's wild.
He's like, yeah.
Jared, I love how you said off topic. We left theme parks back about 10 minutes ago.
I know. My brain's off topic. I go all over the place. I know. Jay Brad said the deja vu. That's pretty good.
That's a good one.
That's pretty good, Jay Brad.
If you're in the Orlando area and you want to go to a hotel that has bidets, go to the Wave in Lake Nona. They have amazing.
Do they
bidets.
Really?
Yeah.
Are they the Japanese ones?
Yes.
Ooh.
Yeah. Nice. They sing to you. The heat. I mean, it's amazing. They're pretty awesome.
See, the Japanese do everything better. I mean, literally, you can't.
They are living in the future.
Yeah,
they
are the Balkans.
What's up, Brandon? Brandon says Kirkland's signature bidet. That's when you know it's classy.
Oh, yeah.
Remy D says, with a Costco lifetime guarantee, you can return your used bidet anytime, even 10 years from now. You know what's funny? Our neighbors, so they moved here. He's a Marine. They moved here from California, and they had bought a furniture set from Costco.
Yeah.
When they got here, I don't know if they moved. Maybe it was in California. I can't remember. But there was something wrong with it, and they went up and asked Costco. They're like, "Hey, like, can we return this?" And they were like, "Yeah, you can return." And they kept asking. So they'd used it for like 5 years, and they took it back. Like they had used it in their house for 5 years, and just
there was someone. Conductor told me someone bought what was it, a pizza or something? Literally ate like everything but one piece and took it back, like it, and they returned it.
What a Chad! Gosh, that's like real men of genius right there. Just real men of genius.
Do you guys? Hey, Jared, have you seen on Instagram the be a man?
Oh yeah.
Maybe.
It's like super. It's like really funny. Like, don't enjoy anything. Be a man.
Oh
you know,
yeah,
like that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
I can see the pizza thing like totally like.
Oh yeah.
Eat the whole thing and return one slice. Be a man.
There is, speaking of AI, there was one that was like they've got the the commercial was like the most interesting man in the world commercials. Well, they had the most optimized man, and it was like Andrew Huberman, and there was like everything he does is ultra optimized, like going through his day. It was.
I actually had
those are great commercials.
I actually had that moment, but it was the opposite. We were actually eating at Cafe Orleans at Disneyland, and I swear this restaurant literally like. They can't divide by 3 because they can't split checks more than 2.
Okay, we've talked about this. This has to be a California thing because this happened to me when in my 20s. And every time we go out to eat out there, and we were like, "Hey, we were like, I was with 8 people, and we were like splitting the check between 4s." And like every time we asked to split a check, they would look at you like I had just asked them for like, "Hey, can I borrow $100 from a stranger?" They're just like, "What?" And I've never had that happen. Like down here, it's not an issue. It seems like it's like a West Coast thing.
I don't know, but it was so strange that I was like, I was like really like ticked off like at the moment, like because they were like trying to maneuver a way of not splitting the check, and I was going to get a Monte Cristo, and I said, you know what? I'm protesting. I'm not getting a Monte Cristo. I'm just getting the gumbo.
There you go. There you go.
I had my BMA moment.
Well, see, back in the day too. Now you've got like Cash App and stuff. Like it's not that big of a deal to send money back. Back then, it's like you're broke college kids. We're just like, okay, here's like we're splitting cash, and it was a mess.
It just goes to show you there's only one kind of three-way in California. You know what I mean? And it's not on a check.
No, sorry. Now, Jared, you just say if it's a West Coast thing. So I have to
woke up looking for the broccoli.
Gotta play Kendrick when there's a West Coast.
I did work in Return of the Mac in my video today because Mac rides. So people told me before technically it's mock because it's European, and I said I'm an American. It's spelled Mac. And I remember Return of the Mac, and I got a little clip in there of Return of the Mac song, and I was like, I was able to work in Return of the Mac into a theme park YouTube video. I was pretty proud of myself.
Jerry, you're playing 4D chess over there, man.
I know. I was like, I didn't see that one coming, and it didn't get flagged. It was like 3 seconds. I was like, I didn't know if it would actually go through the whole thing, but it did.
So Natasha, let me ask you, because she says that they did allow her to split the check. Did you split it 2 ways, or was it more than 2? Because they will split a check 2 ways. It's just they won't go anything above 2.
They're like, our computer systems are still running on DOS. We can't do it more than 3. Brandon says, I seriously saw someone returning dead plants today at Costco.
Hell yeah.
That's ballsy.
I didn't mess these up. You guys did.
Yeah.
I have heard, though, if you return, like, they do see how much stuff you return. And I suppose if you do it too much, they could revoke your membership. I've heard. But, I mean, if you're just doing stuff here and there, I don't think it'd be a big deal. J. Brad says someone needs to change the battery on their smoke detector.
I think is that you, George?
Yeah, it's probably this one back here. Yeah. But
I think I heard that in the last stream too. Oh, you left though. You were
so it's not mine. So not
Natasha said only 2 ways.
Yeah.
Okay. So yeah.
There you go.
Okay, so I only did 2. Yeah. If you go anything above 2, it's nope, they won't do it.
George, has the fire alarm beeping already integrated as part of your your everyday consciousness?
I guess so. Yeah, like I just got so used to it, and like it doesn't even like I don't even like.
Dude, I don't understand how people do that because we were going. It was like a month ago when we were getting ready to. I mean, I was just about to sleep. We sleep with fans on, and all of a sudden I just happened. But I have like very good hearing. Like I will hear stuff that my wife's like, "What?" Like I'll be upstairs recording a video, and our daughter's little friends, like they barely like just knock on the door, and I heard it, and I was like, "What is?" And I go down, and sure enough, it was there, and nobody else in the house heard it. I'm like, "How am I the only one?" But I was laying in bed, and I heard that little chirp, and I was like, "What the hell is that?" And I get up, and I'm not kidding you, 3 smoke alarms at the same time ran out of their batteries. So
that's
like
crazy.
Midnight, I'm pulling one off. I change the battery, and it's still going. I was like, "What?" And I go and I get it, and I'm like going around, and I end up pulling 3 of them off to fix them. I think the house may be cursed.
It must be like a Filipino culture thing because I've been in like 3 different houses of Abby's family, and all the smoke alarms are beeping.
Either that or it's an Abby's family thing.
Have you ever seen It's Always Sunny when they move to the suburbs and they can't sleep?
Oh yeah.
That would be me. I would just be laying there at night, just like, oh my gosh.
Yeah, I wouldn't be able to do that.
Now, if it was like my if whenever I do get a house and it like beeps like I wouldn't be able to handle that shit. Like,
yeah,
like, I'd have to.
Remy D says, I was surprised the Blue Dragon at Epic Universe added a 20% gratuity automatically. I could rant on tipping. I hate automatic gratuity. Was it like for just a party of 2? Because sometimes it's like a party of 8 or more. Sometimes
it's 8 or more. Because when we did our big dinner during my birthday weekend, like they automatically add the gratuity, which is confusing because they don't tell you that they do. It's automatically that you have to know. So you have to like look at the check and then break it down depending on like if you're all splitting the check. Then you have to divide the gratuity that they added.
Right.
You have to divide that, and then everyone has to add that amount to whatever they bought.
You're like, I didn't sign up for math here. I'll tell you, you got to watch out at at least over at Sapphire Falls. If you go, I got a Remy said a party of 6. Okay, yeah, I hate automatic gratuity. I remember I got a beer at the swim bar or the pool bar, and I happened to look, and they automatically add a 20% gratuity even on like one drink, but they don't tell people, and then some people are leaving a tip on top of that. I just happened to look, and I was like, wait, I was like, what? And she was like, oh yeah, tips automatically included. I was like, ew.
One of the things I don't like, I recently, my local boba place, they have like those little touch screens in front of you, and they flip them around, right? So I go up there, and the girl takes my order, and she flips it around and says, do you want to leave a tip? And I feel guilty because it's like, she technically really hasn't done anything. I mean, she
damn thing.
They said, do you want a tip? I just say flat out no.
I will look them in the eye and be like, no.
I hate full eye contact, bro.
I hate tipping in general.
Agreed.
I wish these companies would just pay the wait staff of what they deserve, and it should not be our responsibility for their bills.
I completely agree.
I'm already spending an arm and a leg on the food that tastes like shit that they're delivering.
I already told my wife, I said, look, we don't end up moving because we're thinking about maybe in a couple of years moving to the Midwest because the cost of living is a lot more affordable. And plus she has family over there. But if we end up staying in Florida and end up relocating to Orlando, I said, I'm getting the hospitality. And for this exact very same reason, like tips are already included in the check. I mean, you can make a killing. You don't even have to go get a PhD anymore. Just go work in hospitality nowadays. I mean, granted, it's a hard work. Yes, of course, I've done hospitality. But people in Orlando are making buku bucks, especially at the Disney Universal resorts.
I think tips are good. I just think that they shouldn't be expected. I think above and beyond, or if someone's really giving you like, you know, that really above and beyond kind of service. I think it's good for that to be there as an option, right?
Yeah.
But I mean, if the person just took my order, I mean, she technically really hasn't done anything. I mean, to tip her for that,
I almost lost it. We went to Shake Shack in Orlando, and the whole process, you do everything on the touchpad yourself. There's no interaction with a human being at all, and then they have the audacity to ask if I wanted to leave a tip, and out loud we were sitting there, and I was like, a tip? And Jane, my wife, was like, just chill. I was like, are you kidding? I wanted to walk out. I was like, you gotta be kidding me. I said no. I about broke the iPad just sitting no. But I was like, I haven't talked to a soul in here. Nobody even said hello when we walked in. I'm like, how much money are they making just off people feeling like this? Like, I have to tip.
Exception today when we were at the airport in Mexico, I did leave a tip. Don't ask me why. It was at Carl's Jr., like actually like in the airport. Now, the only reason why I did on the little screen thing was because I felt like I was a visitor, like in their country. So I just wanted to actually just show a little bit of respect to the fact of giving them the tip. But normally, like here, no, I wouldn't. Normally, I wouldn't do that.
Yeah. Brandon said, I do remember this. Brandon said, Jared, remember when the girl added gratuity at Abracadabra even after serving me a bad drink? I do remember that. It was like $20 for an old fashioned that was completely watered down. And then I was like, you should go tell her. And then
I did actually, I gave a really good tip to a worker that was in, it was the Polynesian, because she was brand new. She was like earning her ears. And this was at the time I was, still single, doing my wild thing. Well, they told her to give me a lei. She got confused. So it was
that was when you were going by Jorge.
Oh, absolutely.
I want to witness that, George. Just watch him go about the world and just be like, oh my goodness. Just out here, just chest hair money dealing out for stuff. That'd be a good time,
man.
I always grew up like, I don't know. My whole thing, there was an article that was about there are people that were tipping their UPS drivers, which it's like, if you want to tip them, that's fine. I know UPS drivers. A lot of them make like $150,000 a year. Like, they're not doing bad. And I'm just like, why would you have to tip? Like, what? Like, unless that guy, like, we did tip our UPS or our mail guy because we ship out shirts like a lot. and he goes well. He always gives us boxes. He does extra stuff. So like, I will give him a Christmas present. Like that guy legitimately helps me make my life easier, not having to run to the post office. But like, just to expect it, I always think that's where I get annoyed. Is
there some countries that literally they do not accept tips? They find it insulting.
Australia's that way, I think. There are countries where it's like tipping is weird. They would look at you like, why?
Like Europe. Yeah.
Europe's that way. Yeah.
Yeah. A lot of persons in Europe are like that.
Hey, Brad, I feel you on that because I went to a Chinese buffet back in Pittsburgh and they gave me hell on tipping. They literally made me feel like I was legitimately a bad person for not tipping, where actually we got up and got our food. They only brought the drinks. Yeah. And it's like, I'm not tipping for that.
Jared, I'm going to share my screen with you real quick because I did tip the gal who made our drinks at HHN. This is actually a reel from Tommy Tune. I don't know if you can see it. Okay, there you go.
Yeah.
Look at the pours on this thing. She was giving us, you wouldn't believe how, I mean, it was so strong for a theme park. Watch, you'll see it. It'll repeat it, but give me a second.
I mean, that's legitimate if they're giving you like big pours on drinks. Oh yeah. Like a little extra here. Yeah.
A little extra there. This one right here,
Oh yeah, that's a good reason to tip right there. I agree.
Universal is going to look at their P&L statement at the end of the year and they go like, how did we lose money?
But if you think about it though, you're getting these guys drunk in theme parks. They're going to spend more money. They're just going to be losing. I think that could be part of the business strategy.
That's it.
Goosey goosey. Yeah,
you might be honest.
Robert Colton Jr. says, I hate the restaurants that want you to put the tip amount in while they are at the table with the payment device. Here's the thing. I don't care. I will look them in the eye and I will just be like, I'll just sit there and like, I did it. I took my daughter to Cold Stone, which already they want $8 for a small ice cream.
For an ice cream, yeah. Oh no, I never tip. No,
and it was like $16, and it was dirty, and they were teenagers. They were barely paying attention to us, and then they had the audacity to flip around for a tip. And I remember I just looked at it, and I was just like, "No, thank you." I just looked right at her. I already have the ice cream. You're not going to spit in it. But the worst one, at least here, there's a Starbucks where I don't go often, but we'll go every once in a while. And there's this one girl that's always in the drive-thru. And she is just not nice, like hates her job. And you'll pull up. She doesn't even say hi to you, just gives you your drink and then wants to whip that thing around for a tip. Like, for handing me a drink and not even saying hello, like I deserve a discount. Like, I'm not even getting like human decency of like, hey, hello, how are you doing? I was like, it's gotten out of control. Brandon Green says, I never tip for walk-up service or at fast food restaurants. Yeah. I don't either. If I order to go, I'm not tipping.
Yeah. I'm all for tipping. If I'm getting like exceptional service and the whole thing, I will tip and I will tip well. But if it's just walking up and they just punch in the number, I mean, in the order, I'm like, nah.
I'm only for tipping just because of the sake that we have to, in the sense. Well, not we have to, but like as far as like getting full service, but just tipping in general. No, I really wish it would be these companies that would pay these employees and not us.
Oh yeah. Well, some of the restaurants will put on like a charge. Like there's like some sort of fee they'll put on top of there, and then they want to.
You ever eat at Denny's lately? I don't know if they still do. They do a plate fee that if you buy extra eggs, they charge you per plate that the egg is sitting on.
That's some California BS right there, man.
Oh, I was going to say the same thing. That is a California thing, dude.
You get Florida man and be like, what the hell is this? Give me my eggs on a plate then, lady.
And would grab the plate and throw it and shoot it like a skeet.
Dude, Florida man, I love Florida man. Florida man is very similar to like Midwest redneck, just a little bit more sunburned.
Yeah, little trashier. Maybe he's got some crystal meth stuck in between his teeth. You know what I mean?
Same thing with Missouri, though. They're pretty similar. They're not that far different.
Crystal meth in between what teeth, Slimer?
There's pockets. You gotta find it. It's in the cheek somewhere. Yeah, they're just hanging out.
I love Remy D's comment. It's funny when cashiers ask me to answer a question on the screen. Just say you need to choose a tip option.
I know. It's
like
I go by the Dwight. I think Dwight Truth said if I'm ordering or standing on my feet, I'm not leaving a tip. If
That's
I'm
a pretty
sitting
good rule to
down,
live by.
yeah, it's like, yeah, that's different. Or you're, I think he had said his urologist, because I can't pulverize my kidney stones. I'm like, that's a good point.
I think the only legitimate time to give a really good tip if you're standing up is if you're at a bar and they serve you a really good drink.
Yeah. Well, that's what happened with me at Chucky's bar. She was a rock star.
So, you know, it's funny actually. When I went to the urologist for my kidney stone, you know, I'm up and I have my legs up on like the stirrups and everything, and he said, "Can I give you a tip?" And I was like,
I have
no.
a mental image right now. I just want you to know, George. I'm painting a picture.
He peeks his head up and is like, "Hey, can I give you a tip?" I'm like, "No, thanks. I already got one."
I'm gonna have AI describe this scenario to me. I'm gonna describe what you said to see what it comes out with. Describe this scene for me in vivid detail, AI. Like, I think it's gonna tell me every once in a while, like, I can't reproduce that image. That goes against my guidelines. Like, son of a bitch, I can't do it.
George in stirrups? Are you kidding me? There's people at home eating, George. Come on.
Dinner and a show right there, OG. That's what that is.
I mean, you know, some poor guy's trying to enjoy his flatbread at home or something, and you're talking
desserts. You know where they don't ask you to tip? Taco Bell, because Taco Bells know what they are. They're like, listen, we're not going to get tips here. We're cheap. We're good. Half of us are stoned when we're working here.
I think that is just so funny. Like, you could have said any food, like in God's green earth, and you went with flatbread.
That is true.
I know, it's like, that's a very California thing too.
That is very California. Yes.
Flatbread.
Brandon says just the tip, Citrico.
Oh,
that's his OnlyFans account.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah,
That's Citrico after hours is what that is.
Yeah, 100%.
Oh man,
flatbread and cauliflower crust, Simon. Keep it real California. You know?
I will do cauliflower crust. I will do that because I can eat more pizza. I'm about more volume with pizza. Yeah.
Well, you know what's really big down here, at least in where I live in Florida, is avocado toast.
I don't understand.
Very expensive avocado toast. I was doing brunch with a couple of friends the other day, and they went to like $12 for avocado. Like, get out of here! $12.
They had it there for room service at the Hard Rock. They had avocado toast. They had mushroom toast.
That sounds absolutely disgusting.
I didn't touch that with a 50-foot pole and a tip.
I wouldn't touch that with your pole, George.
I wouldn't even touch it with your tip. Right? I'm not going to do this to George. He's had enough.
Like, how dare they serve a mushroom? What is it again? A mushroom toast?
Is it like ground up mushroom in a paste?
I don't know. I didn't get it. I was
I've never
I was thinking of just ordering it just to see what it was.
Right.
Afraid to, because they would have delivered it up to the room. Then I would have had to give them a tip.
That's true. That is true. I feel like room service. Yeah, they're delivering it to your room. It's like, okay, like,
yeah, room service I will do.
Although I can't wait for the AI robots, because you don't have to tip robots.
No. Well, unless it's AI Walt, because he might.
Can you imagine just pounding on the door? Come get your food. And you're like, oh my gosh, AI Walt is aggressive. Baxter Olson says you have to tip if you're buying a Christmas tree or someone is giving you a fresh cut, wrapping it and tying it to your car. I've never bought a Christmas tree, so I can't speak to that.
You've never bought a Christmas tree?
Not a real one. We just have a fake one we put up.
You've never bought a real Christmas tree?
And if I did, I'm carrying it myself on my shoulder. I'm just walking out of that joint.
Fair enough.
You'd be like, do you need to tie your car? I don't need your car, sir. They're gonna be like, that guy's so cool. Look at that guy walking. And then I'm gonna freeze to death walking home. But well, it's Florida. I wouldn't. I would just be a long walk.
Yeah, the Christmas tree in your shorts. Like,
yeah, Crocs and shorts, walking down the road. Is that Jared?
And your Bass Pro
Shop. Yep. And they're like, why are you walking? I didn't want to tip. Like, oh, okay.
What an asshole.
That guy'd be like, that guy's a dick, but he had a point. He made it known. I respect that guy, but he's
well, of course you had a point. That was the tip.
Good point. I knew there was gonna be something. I was like, I'm waiting for it.
That's fantastic.
Tip, thanks. I already got one.
We've gone down like the bidet route, definitely.
That's true. That's true. Before we go, I was gonna say, you guys ever seen MacGruber?
Yes.
You haven't seen MacGruber, OG? Oh man,
never.
It's on his list.
OG's never
It's on
seen a
my
movie
list.
in his life.
You know what I'm saying?
So he has that part where he walks up and he's just like, what is it, Chris Jericho? And he's like, we had some good times, we had some great times. And he's just like, they're going back and forth. And I always think of MacGruber just having that same where you're just saying to him, like,
Well, because I remember watching like the skits on SNL.
yes, yeah.
How in the world, like, are they going to turn this into a freaking movie? But I'm like,
I love that
I
movie.
mean, but I'm like, you know what? It worked with Wayne's World, and it's
Yeah.
like, I have.
My favorite is he walks in that club and the guy who goes to stop and he just flips the bird as he keeps walking. I'm like, gosh, that guy's so cool. That's the energy you need in life. It's just like, I don't care what you have to
just
say.
be MacGruber.
Yeah.
I think we need to get back to a world where people just get high and they say, you know what, let's turn this stupid SNL skit into a movie, and everybody's like, yeah, that's a good idea.
That's why I'm rooting for Naked Gun to do. I think it did pretty well because I think that would be great for culture to have those movies come back.
I tell you what, like, that was such a breath of fresh air to go
100%
and watch that movie. It was like the O.J. Simpson tease, the Bill Cosby.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I didn't see that movie, but I don't even want to know what the Cosby joke was. It's like, that's wild.
Well, what's great about it is just like his victims, you wouldn't even see it coming.
By the way, have you heard the conspiracy? Not really. I guess it wouldn't be conspiracy of Cosby had been doing all that stuff for a long time. And even in the Cosby Show, there was like little indicators in that show of like some of the writing of like basically, if you look back at it, it was like he was a gynecologist. He had a thing in his basement.
Nice.
Like his gynecology office was in his basement of his home. And then they had some like,
oh, that's right. Yeah, that's right. He did because so I think a woman was pregnant, and I think she came and visited in the house, and he was like, "Oh yeah, we'll just go downstairs."
Yeah. And it was always like really hot women, and like he had like there was other things too. Someone brought it up, and they were like, "There's a bunch of little like Easter eggs in there of like Cosby was a monster, and he just had hidden." And apparently, like it was a known thing. I think it was on, I think it was a Joe Rogan episode. They talked about it where they basically was like everyone talked about it openly, even back in the '80s, of like, "Oh yeah, Cosby was doing stuff," and they're like, "Really?" Like,
well, a lot of these Hollywood guys, they like Hollywood or like the music industry or what have you, that they all kind of know, like with Harvey Weinstein and all that shit. But no one did anything for years, which is crazy, you know?
Yeah. That part is, yeah.
But
I would say movies have fallen off since Weinstein went away. I mean,
well, you know, it's funny. Like I know people did it like sarcastically. They posted a picture of him and said, how did the meme say? They had a picture of him and they said, like, make movies great again or something like that. And it was like his photo on it.
Now Jay Brad's asking, do you guys tip your bidet operator? Every time, Jay Brad.
I give myself a high five every time.
Am I the only one?
Pat on the back there.
You did really good, man.
But going back to what we were talking about, like with the Naked Gun and everything, as I said, that was such a breath of fresh air, and I'm really looking forward to. And Slimer, I know you are for sure. I'm looking forward to Spaceballs too. I will be there opening day. You know, God hoping that Mel Brooks, sticks around to finish all his scenes as Yogurt. But
yeah,
God
willing,
they're going to make fun of the sequel trilogy with that.
Oh, 100%.
Surely.
And don't call me Shirley.
Don't tell me.
That was flawless, Slimer. That was flawless.
Good.
That was good.
A little airplane reference.
Well, I think they're doing a new scary movie too.
For Naked Gun.
They are.
Are they? I know they're doing a Super Troopers 3.
I saw that.
The Wayans brothers is doing another scary movie.
Is it 5?
6.
6. Okay.
You know what show I miss, speaking of the Wayans brothers, is In Living Color.
Oh yeah, that was good.
In Living Color was like amazing.
I missed the Wayans brothers show. It was just called the Wayans brothers, right?
The Wayans brothers show.
Did you ever see?
They made a little dig at that in the first scary movie when Sean Wayans is stabbing the guy, and he was like, canceling good shows are, and it's like the Wayans brothers show was a good show, man.
I always liked
I
always liked the Wayans show. Like I would get him confused. He had a show there for a bit. It was kind of funny. Like this is a sitcom type show. What was I going to say? There was a skit on Living Color you could not do today, and it popped up on my Instagram. Was Handyman.
Oh my! I knew you were going to say that. Yeah. Yeah,
Dude,
You
that was
Jim
absolutely
Carrey
cannot
was.
do.
Wait, no, oh, I'm sorry. That wasn't Jim Carrey. I'm thinking
That
of
was
Fire
Damon
Marshal.
Damon
Wayans.
Wayans.
Damon
Damon
Wayans,
Wayans.
Dude,
Yeah.
if
Damon
you
Wayans.
aired that today, dude, people would probably like you would literally have people being like, someone would die. They would just be like, they were so offended they had a heart attack or something.
Yeah.
No,
Like,
they couldn't. They couldn't. That show wouldn't last 5 minutes right
Yeah.
now. There's
Yeah,
no
I
way.
Pete,
do
like-
think it would be popular, but you would just have so many people mad. Like you would just have this Twitter X would just lose their mind. The whole
People are getting outraged about people's taking like home run balls away from kids in like baseball stadiums or in baseball games.
oh
Yeah.
gosh,
Yeah.
dude, I
That-
can't
that-
tell you what I would have told that lady. I would,
I can see George doing that though for some reason. I don't know why. No, that's my ball. Would you take? Would you do that, George, or no?
Privately. No.
I mean, the thing about that is like that guy wasn't right. Like you don't run across all those aisles to do that. Like I wouldn't do that. But if you're going to make the decision to go that far, you don't pull it out of your son's thing, and you also don't do this when the lady comes up to you. I'm like,
Yeah,
That
after
whole
all,
thing.
it's only Elizabeth Warren. You know what I mean?
I don't know how she got out.
I
Yeah.
saw that meme. That was hilarious.
Yeah, apparently she got fired from her job and everything. Like the next day, she was
The
fired.
thing with that though is she's probably the type you would imagine they were just looking for a reason to fire her. Like if
Yeah.
she acts like that at a baseball game, I'm just like they were probably just waiting.
like, yes.
Yeah,
finally.
they're just like, and by the way,
Right.
you're fired.
Yeah. Pull the trapdoor lever now.
I think,
Yeah.
I think for me, like, if someone like literally, like, if I had like a moment of something where someone literally ran all the way across and like beat me to it, I think I would be like, I'd be annoyed, like I'd be, but I don't know if I would literally walk all the way over.
No,
Like,
especially
yeah,
it's like a kid.
literally.
It's like
Yeah.
that's
No,
kind of like
and-
what yeah.
No, and I'm just messing with you. I'm messing with you, George, because I know how much you love kids at Disney.
Oh yeah, I mean, that's like my top tier right there. No, but I mean, like, just in general, like, she actually has balls, no pun intended, that like to literally walk across of how far that she complained that he ran all the way over to get.
I know,
that she walked all the way over there just to
dude,
get
and that entire stadium turned on her. Like there's tons of people with footage of like they're booing her. She's flipping them off. Like
Now,
the
but you
entire
know
stadium.
that obviously, when you're in a stadium, you got jumbotrons,
Oh
you
yeah,
got cameras everywhere. Like,
Well, the entire United States turned on her by like day 2,
oh yeah.
yeah,
which is great. I love that. That's phenomenal. I love it when there's like a real life in-person example of how not to be a human being, and
Yeah.
somebody records it and puts it on social media for everybody to see as like an example, like Exhibit A. This is how you don't adult. Very simple.
Mhm.
Very simple.
Well,
I had an
what
experience like that at the movie
what
theater
about
this
the guy
weekend.
that took what was it, a baseball player that was handing a kid his hat?
It was tennis. He was signing a hat. Yeah.
Yeah, and the guy literally just oblivious, like just grabs it out of the guy's hand, and the kid was like standing there, like, excuse me.
Yeah. Now
Well,
that stuff.
Well, what's funny is that guy ended up being a CEO of a really a really big company, and he actually wrote a statement the next day. Basically, I'm going to summarize it essentially, but it was like, "You snooze, you lose, and any slander will be considered for legal action."
Like you're gonna sue the whole internet. That's a
Yeah, come on.
that's
Yeah.
a ballsy stance to take.
That's a ballsy stance. Remy D here says acting like a Disney adult. That's funny.
I mean, some.
I mean, yeah, there are people that literally feel like they're entitled to anything.
Well,
Literally,
I saw a video today where apparently a guy and his whole like group of cohorts were trying to skip the line at Splash Mountain or Tiana's Bayou Adventure rather, and they all got called out by everybody. Like at the very last minute, as people were boarding the rides, everybody caught on to what this group was doing, and like right in front of the cast members, just like, no, this guy has been cutting everybody, and we've all been waiting for a last hour, and that's on social media now too. So, but good for them. Like people like that, they just need to be called out because they apparently they haven't had enough
I
consequences.
don't know if it was
Yeah.
real. It looked real to me, but I mean, with AI, you never know. Did someone actually get into the park with a drone? And if that was
Yes.
I saw that.
how
That
in the
happened
world,
twice.
how in the world did he get in? They gave me a hard time with a gimbal. How
I
in the
know.
world did he get in with a drone?
There was a dude that flew a drone in Epcot. he actually was flying it, and then security came over there and got him. And then this dude had pulled it out on Main Street, and they would come over like, "How you get?" I'm like, I don't know how you get it through. I don't understand it.
I want to know how Bio Reconstruct didn't know that was a bad idea.
There you go. That's a good point.
They got
That's a good point.
I think it was. We'll hop off here for this, but I think I can't remember where I heard it, but someone I remember saying it always stuck with me is live your life like a documentary crew is following you around. Like just always assume like how, and not to be like I don't want to get in trouble, but like behaving how you would want to be perceived.
And that's why, and ladies and gentlemen, that is why I am the way I am. Because literally, I'm an attention whore. I love it. I will act out as much as possible. I say to everybody, literally, if I could surf the crowds, like if everyone could just pick me up and just surf me down Main Street,
you do it.
I would do it in a heartbeat.
All right. Well, I know now, like when you die, I'm going to spread your ashes over a concert. I'm just...
Oh, dude, like I was saying, like when I go, as I said, speaking of like carry me, I want to be like lifted like the Pope and just like
like the Pope. Does the Pope get lifted? Oh yeah, he does with the chair.
He does
right?
get lifted. Yeah.
Okay.
They have a whole thing. Yeah.
So you want to be lifted like Spider-Man after he saved the subway, essentially?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, like just like all flipped and exhausted, and everyone just like.
Do you want white? Do you want white robes, or do you want the Spider-Man suit? Or do you want an Italian jumpsuit?
Probably the Italian.
If you do the Spider-Man though, you got to have where it's like a belly shirt and the belly's showing, and then you're like, yeah, there's got to be something that's like a little bit like, oh, I don't know if he'd want that, but okay. Is that disrespectful? No, this is what he wanted. They're like, okay, I'm just asking. He specifically said so.
George's Italian name's the Tip.
That's Tip.
His gangster name.
That's Tip.
The most feared gangster. Oh no, it's the Tip.
Oh no, it's the Tip.
Oh, that's fantastic.
Oh man. All right, we should probably hop off in this because I could keep going on random stuff. Are we just filming it, or is it live on your thing Friday, OG?
Oh, on Friday about the pyramids?
Yeah.
Just filming.
Okay. Well, soon we're gonna talk about pyramids. I can't wait on OG's channel because I love pyramid talk.
We're breaking down the laser cut bricks and all that stuff, aliens, all that good stuff. You know,
I love it. I went on a little rabbit hole last night watching some extra, like just get a refresher on some of it, and I was just like, yeah.
But do you know what the best things about pyramids are?
The Tip.
That's pretty good. That was
good. That was a good one. That was good.
All right, that's a good end point here. All right, well, before we go, let's be. Oh, I didn't even do that in the intro with you guys. My apologies. Before everybody goes here, let's check out where everybody can catch everybody's wares and everything like that. So, Orange Go 55, thank you for being here as always on Theme Parkin. Where can everybody find you on YouTube and social media?
Yeah, I want to thank you, gentlemen. Always a good time. I want to thank everybody in chat. Really, really fun tonight. You can find me here on YouTube, Orange Grove 55, almost to 8,000 subs, getting really close. You can also find me on Instagram. And I have an X account, but I haven't logged in weeks, maybe even a month. So you're better off on Instagram, really, and YouTube. But again, I want to thank you, Jared, for being an amazing host today, and had a great time talking shop with you, gentlemen. So thank you.
Appreciate it. Always a good time here. And then we have Slimer with his he broke the story on what's happening at the rivers of America. He was firsthand there. It was not AI at all. That was very factual. Where can everybody find your breaking stories on totally serious theme park matters that you have been posting, which I find very hilarious, by the way?
Absolutely. Yeah. So if you guys want to get real news on Walt Disney World, Universal Studios, go ahead and check out my X. That's at Slime Square. And I am now on Instagram, where you can find me at Slime Square 84. And Jared, thanks again for setting the table. Every time Jared sets the table, everybody eats well. So thanks for sticking around. We had a really fun conversation with this one. And as soon as George came in, you knew it was all over from there. So
just a tip.
George's reputation is going to be live stream like Sidewinder. Just you never know where it's going to go.
George is like letting a bull loose in a glass shop. You know what I mean?
Yeah, he'll be passionate about what's happening in the parks, and it's just like you don't know the other side of that is passionate. Who knows where it's going?
I'm literally like Forrest Gump. I'm like, Mama says life's like a box of chocolates. You never know what you're going to get.
I like that because I can talk about I love talking about various topics. So if you get me going like in left lane, I'll just go. So I appreciate it. But George, I'm glad you could make it as you landed and came on the live stream. Appreciate it. And where can everybody find you and your internet wares?
Absolutely. And Jared, thank you so much for having me back on. So glad that I was able to make it. It was cutting it close, but I made it just by the tip. But anyways, you can find me on Orange Grove 55 with this guy up here, where we cover all the breaking news from the Disney theme parks and Universal and what have you. And also you can find me on my YouTube channel, Citrico Central, which is actually doing some gangbusters of its own right now. It actually doubled in subs while I was on vacation. I think it was all from the coverage I did with Destination D23 and all the bidet talks and everything.
I was gonna say the bidets had to be something.
It had to be the bidets, man. But it was like 4 or 5 hours worth of live streams I did with Conductor that set it over the edge. But so I'm definitely going to be doing a lot more content. I have some things on the horizon that I will be discussing this upcoming weekend. I'm going to be doing a double live on Saturday and on Sunday live at Disneyland. So definitely check it out. If you're not subscribed to Citrico Central, you definitely might want to, because I got some things coming out. And don't worry, it's not my tip.
I'm intrigued.
When he said he doubled his subs, I thought it was tip related.
I was wondering. That's awesome though about the double. So are you over 500 now?
I am. Yeah, nice. And I actually gained a few more even coming back while I was traveling. I think I'm at 857 now.
Oh, nice. That's awesome. I have noticed there has been a change in the algorithm where the smaller stuff's kind of getting pushed, because our podcast channel is we're almost at 1,000 stuff now.
What's funny is I recorded the Festival of the Lion King show when I was down in Florida, and just recently the video hit over 1,000 views.
Yeah.
And it's that was a slow burn, but then all of a sudden it just went off like crazy.
Well, what it is so it turns out that over 90% of them are actually old Italian and Jewish women over the ages of 65, because they were looking for bidet reviews.
That's true.
There it is.
I imagine that's what it would be. I do imagine. Well, that's great to hear, and thanks for being here, George, as always. And before we go, I just want to remind everybody, if you're looking for some theme park apparel, head over to CTMAPPARELCO.com. That is my wife and I's company, where we have a bunch of shirts. Getting ready to come out with some new designs as well. Bunch of Disney World, Epic Universe. We're going to add some Disneyland and West Coast stuff as well, as OG is inspiring some of that. So we're going to add some more stuff there. And if you head over to CTMAPPARELCO.com, use the promo code YouTube, you will get a discount. Plus, if you order over $49, you get free shipping on top of that. So, and they're I'm very picky on shirts. They're very comfortable, hand printed. We don't use third-party printers. So the shirts will last you for a long time. I have shirts that this one's 3 years old. The prints last a very long time. So if you're looking for some theme park shirts, you can do some pop culture ones as well.
If you want an idea for if you wanted to do more Disney ones, if you do the Matterhorn and Space Mountain and Big Thunder, you could just say magic is right at the tip.
I may go tip related. Leave your tips at the door. It's really endless. We could go bidets. We'll have a niche market here to do the shirts for sure. But yeah, if you want to check those out, CTMAPPARELCO.com, and I'll get a just George's face on one, and it just says the tip, and with his thumbs up like this. That's all. So, all right, we're gonna head out of here. Thank you for the chat. Thank you everyone for hanging out. And Remy D did say ancient alien stuff. Let's go. Absolutely. And
yeah,
it's a fun topic. I'm looking forward to that. And Robert says, please do a Space Mountain shirt. I will do a Space Mountain. We do have a People Mover. I'll do a Space Mountain one. I still have some ride shirts to go through, but we will look at that and open to suggestions there. But appreciate everybody hanging out, and be sure to sub to all these guys. Check them out and support their content. And for those that are Orange Grove 55, thanks for watching, and we will see you guys later.